It all began when a young creature was born from the union of a poor ice mage and a hybrid, a wolf girl. Her family survives by selling medicinal herbs that the girl gathers in snowy fields. Poverty is not their biggest problem, but the same cannot be said for some wolves while looking for herbs. Once again, the girl ran into some boys in the forest. The pure-blood wolves insult and mistreat her, calling her a dirty vegetarian. Giving her scornful looks, they ordered the half-breed to learn how to answer when a wolf speaks to her. Their contempt for half-breeds hurts more than the icy wind of the northern lands, and this is why the girl seriously thought that being herself was so wrong because of their cruel wolf nature. The boy trampled all the herbs she had been collecting for her mom. He did not even stop at her frightened look, thinking the half-breed's legs were shaking with fear as she tried to defend herself. Like a trembling lamb, the girl cut his face with ice magic. She looked like a madwoman. The mudblood dared to attack a pure-blood wolf. Fear awakened her inner courage, threatening him with a piece of ice. She ordered him not to come any closer. Her confidence only made the wolves laugh as they believed that ice magic was useless in lands where it was abundant. Assuming the girl was dumb for being a half-breed, the cruel boy decided to show her her place. From the strong blow, the girl crashed against a tree, and in that instant an unknown image flashed in her mind. In it, a human girl appeared, and the girl understood that it was her past life, and at that very moment, she remembered the novel she loved to read. The protagonist of Little Red Riding Hood was the leader of the half-breed dragons. She met a half-breed wolf during the war with the wolves, who asked for her help. Little Red Riding Hood took notice of the pleading boy who wanted to revive his older sister. The novel's heroine succumbed to temptation despite his dirty wolf blood and made him hers. That was the very story the girl dreamed of reading, where the author is handsome, and Little Red Riding Hood did not disappoint. The gaze of that attractive boy could not leave anyone indifferent. Little by little, he became part of her group. Waking from those thoughts, the girl could not believe she had been reincarnated into that novel. Finding herself in a horrible situation, she suddenly realized that this was the world of Little Red Riding Hood. Thinking that the author was a complete madman, she took off running and fled without looking back instantly. The boys chased after that crazy girl, but she did not stop wanting to see everything with her own eyes. Meanwhile, her mother waited patiently for Eva. Until she arrives, there will be no food for her and the little one. If the girl understood correctly, the novel's protagonist is her unborn little brother Sion. In the novel Little Red Riding Hood, the half-wolves and half-dragons hated each other to death. Where humans lived with half-breeds, the enmity began when a wolf stole the dragon leader's heart. After losing the heart she wanted to give her beloved, the leader died, unable to control her rage. According to the legend, Little Red Riding Hood's brother also had a heart, and death awaited him for not mastering his power. She blamed the wolves and unleashed a purge in the north. In this novel, the heroine is the protagonist's sister, whom Little Red Riding Hood slaughtered like a dog. It seems the author is a true madman, creating a harsh childhood for the girl and condemning her to a bleak future. With the thought that she had to get out of there no matter what, she did not want to die like a dog. Strange noises behind the house caught the mother's attention, who went outside and saw a panicked Eva. The girl claimed the wolves had damaged their house and threatened to kill them if they did not leave. After thinking it all through, she decided she had to prevent the two protagonists from meeting. To do that, Eva had to leave home hiding her reincarnation, so she had to lie to her mother. She just wanted to protect everyone, but someone seemed to mock her plans. After Sion's birth, her mother's condition worsened. There was no wolf nearby who could deliver a half-breed's baby. They say good things happen to good children, so the mother asked Eva to be kind to others. Then the girl heard her mother's voice for the last time. Fate took their mother from both children. That was their reality now. Both of their parents had abandoned them. So Eva decided to protect Sion at all costs. After many years of living deep in the forest, Eva came across something that shocked her. A little girl lying in the snow surprised her. She did not understand what a child was doing in a place like this. The girl had a high fever, but the heroine thought someone else would come to help her. In that instant, her mother's words echoed in her mind, saying that good things happen to good children. Whether Eva felt sorry for the girl left in the cold or her mother's words influenced her, she took her home. Sometime later, when she returned, little Sion greeted her happily at the door. He had been waiting for his sister. All this time, the little one had been playing alone. No strangers had come by. It turned out the girl had not woken up yet. She has been sleeping for a long time, but she probably has not rested yet. It has already been 3 days since Eva brought the lost girl home without even realizing the consequences. Deciding the girl was not waking up because of the fever, she asked her brother to bring cold water and a towel. Not even the best herbs were helping, and under the current circumstances, taking the girl to a hospital was difficult. Perhaps the half-breed had acted wrongly, but it was also dangerous to leave her there. Barely touching the little girl's hand, Eva apologized. There was nothing more she could do for her in that instant. She felt a slight movement in her hand. The girl moaned softly, exhausted, panicked. The young woman jumped up and began to ask about the girl's condition. When the forest girl opened her eyes, the room lit up with her amber eyes like rubies. This truly scared Eva, knowing that in this world only one race has red eyes. She pushed those strange thoughts aside. If she remembered correctly, everything was much more complicated. After her death, the one who took Sion was the protagonist from Little Red Riding Hood. In the novel Little Red Riding Hood, asked Sion who she was to him. Demanding an immediate answer, he replied, crying pitifully that Little Red Riding Hood was his protector. But now, for some reason, Eva heard that answer come from her lips, confused. She thought that calling her protector was going too far. If that girl really is Little Red Riding Hood, there must be a reason for her to be this far north so soon. In the original story, her first meeting with Sion was when they were already adults. She decided that the course of events had changed. Eva immediately hid her brother and asked him not to show himself, hoping they could talk later. Sion did not understand why he could not see her. Then in the heroine's head, there was only one thought: if they meet now, everything will end. Like in the original story, she had to say, the girl might get scared and ask her brother to wait outside. Feeling guilty towards her protector, the girl only now thanked her for saving her. Eva thought that was the right thing to do. She was worried, however. It seems the girl is fine, obviously, if Sion and she do not see each other. The half-breed's plan will continue to unfold. The survival plan in this crazy story is to buy a castle, but not too ostentatious. The intermediaries only help wolves with known identities enter the country. As for poor nameless commoners, no one will let them pass. But with money, nothing is impossible. That is why Eva's ambitious goal is to buy a castle with Sion and move to the human world. That is why she memorized the medicinal herb book her father left her. She was also saving money the entire time by selling valuable herbs from the forest. However, while following her plan, Eva did not know that the events of the story had gotten mixed up. If she returns Little Red Riding Hood home safe and sound, only time will separate her from a happy ending. Unexpectedly, the girl decided to ask where she was located, and who she was, hoping that her question did not mean what she feared. Eva began to worry noticeably. Her faith that the author could not have done that vanished when Little Red Riding Hood said she remembered nothing. It seems the author is crazy. The heroine did not understand when the girl got amnesia. It is not that she remembers nothing, she just remembers being very hot. Something happened to Little Red Riding Hood before she fainted, but it is not clear if she lost her memory because of that. If we use the information from the novel, she is Rachel, a half-dragon warrior who controls fire. Her brother rules the south. Knowing this, Little Red Riding Hood can finally go home. Actually, Eva cannot say that, thinking that she must take her there herself, although for wolves, entering Dragonlands is like suicide. Noticing the thoughtful expression on her benefactor's face, Rachel said she could not pay her anything, and although Eva did not demand payment, the girl really wanted to thank her somehow. Until she recovers her memory, Little Red Riding Hood asked for permission to stay here in that instant. The half-breed could already hear her plan falling apart and her life spiraling into misery. Meanwhile, the search for the missing girl continued even at night, but it was all in vain. Upon learning they had not found her, the captain became curious about what the boys were up to. In the end, he immediately ordered her to be found threatening to cut off their heads. He only thought of Rachel. The next day, the protective sister bought some clothes for Rachel and took her to the doctor. Little Red Riding Hood had already resigned herself to being called sister, but she did not understand why they had to hide their faces. Eva said it was to protect themselves from the cold, an excuse. As silly as the ones in Little Red Riding Hood when calling for Eve, a handsome young man suddenly appeared from around the corner. And radiating with his smile near the square, there is a secret alley that few people know. Eva sneaks here to sell herbs to customers. Today, she brought a good product. A regular customer was interested in the fire herb for the high-quality fire herb. The half-breed asked for 10 gold bars so as not to reveal her identity during the transaction. She must hide her face and change her voice. Offering a way to buy it cheaper, Eva asked the gentleman to examine the girl. Putting aside all unnecessary questions, the doctor agreed immediately, noticing the girl was very thin. The little one was visibly worried, but he asked her not to be alarmed, introducing himself as a familiar face. The doctor was also interested that the girl did not know why she lost consciousness or remember anything. Besides, she still does not feel well. The consequences of the injury seem serious in these cases. Memory returns to patients in a couple of days. However, to be certain, the doctor needs to know exactly what happened to her. She is very weak. What is more, her temperature is extremely high. Since she had a fever a couple of days ago, Eva assumed it had not gone away yet. Suddenly, the doctor recalled that a girl, the captain's younger sister, reportedly disappeared in the southern region. When it came to relations between the north and the south, the heroine could not think of anything. Of course she knew. Also being a wolf, it was impossible for her not to know. Having no idea what the gentleman was looking for, he advised her to be more careful. This conversation forced Eva to make the urgent decision to return Rachel to her place if this continues. The dragons will undoubtedly kill her upon discovering the whole truth, despite her unease. The protector called the girl to come home to eat the incredibly adorable protagonist of the novel. Was willing to eat anything if the lady prepared it now, Eva convinced herself to keep her head held high. Knowing the girl would never kill her protector looking around, Rachel suddenly noticed a dream catcher that helps catch nightmares. Speaking of nightmares, her expression suddenly changed. Her gaze lowered and her breathing slowed. Rachel's somber red eyes reminded Eva of the novel's plot. After losing her only older brother, Little Red Riding Hood never slept peacefully again. As soon as she closed her eyes, the same nightmare would immediately begin to torment her, only upon meeting Sion. Was she able to overcome the pain and suffering that consumed her soul and heart? Although they are at the beginning of the story, Eva unhesitatingly bought a dream catcher for the girl, driven by a single desire that from now on, Little Red Riding Hood would only have sweet dreams. This is undoubtedly the best gift from a protective sister that Rachel has ever received. In this turbulent time, Eva unknowingly became the savior of the heroine who will kill her. After the sale, Eva returned home where 2 children were waiting for her, patiently playing adorably. Now Sion could help comb her hair. The lady wanted to rest easy, knowing that Sion did not show his ears to the girl. Hoping that Rachel did not suspect anything yet. Just the thought of it made her uneasy, but from her reaction, it seems she has not discovered their secret yet. When the half-breed decided to take Rachel under her protection, she was given a new name, Ruby. Although the girl read the novel where her name was written, she could not use it so easily. It is good that she and Sion get along well. This girl's eyes shine like rubies, a true beauty with Rachel's arrival at the house. A couple of small changes occurred, however Sion had questions about why Ruby ate cold food. It is because those vulnerable to the cold like Sion and her crave warmth, and food is no exception. Rachel's sad face hurt Eva little. But seeing the girl eat everything, she calmed down. However, that night, the cold from the food combined with her own body temperature was abnormally high. That is why Ruby got sick. The fire element in dragons is very fierce. We could have guessed it before. The only thing Eve can do now to help her is to cool her head with ice magic. Fortunately, the exposure to cold during the day cooled her down, and she recovered quickly. Eve explained that the girl should only eat cold food, saying that her fever had not gone down yet. Early one cold morning, as the heroine was about to go to the market, she saw Ruby half asleep. The girl ran to hug her and begged her not to leave, but to sleep together a little longer. Thinking for a moment, the girl took out a gold pendant and said she found it in the forest. She was very sorry for going into the woods without permission. In the forest, the girl could encounter wolves, although the protector told her not to go, understanding that Ruby was bored at home. The young woman warned she would be attacked if she wandered alone. However, resisting that adorable little thing proved to be much harder. Promising to return early, Eva suggested they all have a snowball fight together. After sending the girl to bed, she left, saying she would keep her ring upon hearing, she would keep it. Rachel thought her mistress was a real spoilsport. In her eyes, the protector is just a fool who did not even get her hint to sell the ring. This dragon girl was convinced that excessive stupidity is also a sin. A few days ago in the southern region, news of Rachel's idiopathic disease came out, which causes a fever. After trying so many treatments, the lady was desperate. The girl was not getting any better. It was time to prepare for the worst. It all began when Rachel was diagnosed with an idiopathic disease. The captain could not believe it with all his soul. He thought she could not inherit that disease. Worried, the lady ordered her to control her internal fire element to not put herself in danger. Suddenly hearing his sister's voice, the gentleman ran to her, completely bewildered as soon as they touched. The growth of the fire element inside her will become a threat to both of them. That is why the young man immediately pulled his hand away, saying he did not expect to see her suddenly faint. Then tears rolled down Rachel's cheeks. The nightmare she had had hurt her deeply. From that day on, the legend that dragons have a single heart spread throughout the city. Rachel thought those stories were related to her brother, so she insisted she would save him, no matter the cost. She promised to return after clearing up the rumors spread about him only weeks later. It became known that the girl had left for the north. The captain could hardly believe that a girl who looked like her was seen in the square. They say she was with a stranger. It seemed incredibly audacious to him that the man would expect to trick his sister with a toy. Instantly, the captain decided to go himself. That filthy wolf will not dare get near Rachel. Soon as Eva was preparing to go home, she suddenly heard a voice nearby apologizing. The strange man wanted to know if she was selling anything interesting today, deciding he was another addict. Eva, although poor, was well educated, which was a strong reason not to get involved in such dirty business and to turn him down. Her moral principles do not allow her to deal with addicts, but there is an even greater reason. Like all addicts, this guy is an idiot who thought her ring looked expensive, wanting to buy it. Eva blurted out a whopping 50 million in gold bars. Believing the girl despised him, the man said she would never earn that much in her life. He became so enraged that he wanted to hit her. And that is why Eva hates addicts, to get him under control. The wolf girl cast a northern magic spell on him. She had no intention of looking at that trash any longer. She just wanted to get back quickly to her beautiful children. As she left, she told him she would not give him the ring, even if the jerk brought the money, because it was priceless. She decided to give the ring to the girl. Although she insisted she found it by chance, Eva did not believe her. Just the thought that the dragon captain still does not know where his sister is gives her chills. They say he loves his sister very much, so Eva thought the search would not take long. Although her house is hard to find, it is deep in the forest, remembering she had forbidden the children to go outside. The heroine understood she was seen as a kidnapper. As she approached the house, a strange sensation washed over her, as if someone was following her. Obviously, if he tracked her in the forest, he is not to be underestimated, knowing the ice wizard's daughter is hiding. She covered the apple in ice and ordered the stranger to show himself. Meanwhile, the children were at home. The little one, Sion, was playing at being a brave wolf and a fearsome dragon. However, he was always cold. Rachel couldn't find a reason for it. Deciding to intensify the fire, she waved her hand and suddenly a familiar sensation washed over her. Seeing that Sion was about to leave, she reminded him that their sister does not allow them to go out without permission in this situation. It makes no sense for Little Red Riding Hood to be obedient. She needed to save her. The girl was going to save her sister, and Sion's thinking about who was pursuing her, Eve. She guessed it was Little Red Riding Hood's brother, but in reality the dragon would show himself immediately. He wouldn't go around spying. Then the girl considered the idea that maybe the doctor handed them over to the wolves. Suddenly Eva heard a rustle in the bushes and threw an apple, a frozen one, hitting the target perfectly. After such a blow, it is difficult to stay on your feet. However, there was no sound of an attack. Listening in silence, the girl ordered the stranger to come out and say what he wanted, when the hope that he would appear so easily vanished. She felt thousands of gazes behind her. The wolf girl thought that 1 or 2 people were following her, but there were many more. In that instant, fire erupted under her feet, trapping her. She understood she couldn't do it alone. The worst thing is to accept your fate. Because in the original story, Rachel unleashed a slaughter with every drop of water from the melted apple. Eva understood that he attacked her because of the hit. In that instant, everything exploded. The dragon chief demanded that the girl say where she was hiding his sister. Realizing her mistake, Eve was choking, unable to even articulate a word. And although she tried to say she did nothing wrong, you don't mess with the dragon. He has no mercy or patience for nonsense. He assumes Eva is a kidnapper. Seeing that it was unfair, that it was too much, the girl demanded that he at least listen to her at the moment she grabbed the dragon's hand. Time seemed to stop. Their opposing forces, upon clashing, swirled in a vortex of uncontrolled energy. Seeing that the flame went out, the master was perplexed. He couldn't understand who she was. The truth is that Eva strove to take care of his sister, and no amount of money would be enough to thank her for her kindness. Saying those last words before fainting, the girl called him a cruel scoundrel. In that instant, Rachel's voice echoed from the forest. Furious that her brother dared to do that to Eva in her eyes, everything indicated that her brother had become a villain. When the protagonist opened her eyes again, she saw her room and thought it had been a dream. The last thing she remembers is Rachel screaming and then running towards her with those thoughts. Eva remembered that crazy dragon was there, realizing it wasn't a dream when she saw her sister. The children pounced on her immediately. It turns out they hadn't left her side. It was so unexpected, but Eva was very grateful for their efforts. Anyway, Sion was the most scared. He thought his older sister had died. Although Rachel was scared, what a drama they made over nothing. The important thing is that everything is fine. Although Eva almost cried seeing her little angels worried, Sion told her that Little Red Riding Hood's older brother left for a moment. He said he would be back soon. The instant the wolf girl touched his hand, he felt as if all his strength was draining away. Good thing her ears didn't appear. If they saw her true form, she wouldn't live to tell the tale. Suddenly a creak. The dragon chief noticed the door was terrible zero security the moment their gazes met. Eva was left breathless, completely speechless, as the master saw her awaken. He thought she wouldn't make it. He seemed like a complete lunatic. Now that the girl could see him up close, she noticed he was quite attractive. What a surprise! Soon everyone gathered around the round table. The tension could be cut with a knife. First, the gentleman introduced himself as Noel Ramirez, and he had many questions, but at first he thought he should apologize for what happened in the forest. He turned out to be kinder and more polite than Eve thought. It seems she knows nothing about dragons. On second thought, it's understandable why he attacked her. She would also go crazy if she knew her Sion had been kidnapped, however, without denying that he had gone too far. She wanted to demand compensation for all the trouble. Although Noel himself would be compensation enough, it's Eve's wolf instincts talking, albeit late. Noel introduced himself as Rachel's older brother. His little sister suddenly disappeared. He made a very long journey to get here, but the girl doesn't remember him at all. This handsome man is really her brother, but Eve can't say she knows, so she decided to play dumb. As the girl insisted it wasn't true, her brother couldn't believe her so easily. Assuring her he wasn't lying, Noel held out his hand and asked Rachel to give him hers. The dragon power locked in his hands was revealed. The irrefutable proof of their kinship. Instantly Rachel pulled her hand back in terror and fell backwards, terrified by the emanating fire. Seeing Sion's confused face, Eva guessed that he too had been frightened by the flame. Little Rachel was so scared she wouldn't take her eyes off her sister to reassure her. Sion also took her hand, although he himself understood nothing, and although Noel didn't understand what was wrong with his sister, it seemed Little Red Riding Hood was already feeling better. With all her might, she was trying to deny her true kinship with the dragons. Now Noel is the villain to his sister, and it was very hard for Eva to witness it, seeing how distressed the young man was. The heroine decided to tell him the whole story of her first encounter with the girl. After that, Noel held a grudge because his sister fainted because of the damned wolves. Suddenly he asked if everything was all right, when what he should have done was put out the fire. But there are problems with that. Noel Ramir is considered the hero. Most powerful in the story of Little Red Riding Hood, he is endowed with extraordinary magic. They describe him as someone capable of mastering the flame, a furious flame with only one heart. However, this means that he finds it difficult to control his own emotions. And the power of the flame putting his life in danger, the fire he struggles to control was extinguished by Eva, because she has the ability of freezing. Even so, there are many mages whose powers are superior to hers. As far as she knows, the north is full of wolves with a similar power anyway. This is just a guess. The girl couldn't say she was a wolf. She trained 1,000 times to say she was not a wolf, but a person. Just when Eve had composed herself, Rachel blurted out that we should throw that horrible guy out. The truth is, he is not a stranger. The resemblance they have is obvious while denying their kinship. Rachel judged him as evil for having hurt her sister. It turns out Sion thought the same. Now both children demanded that he leave. So that the gentleman would not be distressed, Eva tried to convince him that her memories would return soon. His attempts to touch his sister failed. Rachel doesn't want him. She prefers to live with her sister. She's just a child talking nonsense. She dreamed of taking her sister with her if she had to leave. Maybe Eva is to blame. Although the girl is charming, they must say goodbye. It is time to go home. In the dead silence, soft sobs were heard. Noel broke down seeing his distressed sister. Eve tried to reject the girl with the greatest delicacy possible so that she would return home as soon as possible, but now with no other option. Mr. Noel asked the girl for a favour. He promised it wouldn't take long, just until Rachel reconciled and trusted him. On one hand, Eva won't have another chance to meet a guy like this. It's a good opportunity. But on the other hand, there's the risk he'll discover the truth, and then they will kill her. Of course, one can only dream of such a handsome guy. But if he discovers that Eva is a wolf, they will roast her, aware that he committed an unforgivable act, and ashamed of asking for a favour. Ramiel begged for his sister. The wolf girl was sure it would be difficult, but Noel promised to reward her for her kindness. Before leaving, hoping the girl would consider the conditions, the gentleman said he had been wrong, and although he deeply regrets it in his place, Eva would have done the exact same thing unexpectedly. The dragon captain asked her to take his hand again, knowing it was improper. But just then, Rachel came running, furious to see that guy was still there. As his presence still disturbs the girl, Noel decides to leave once and for all. Reflecting on the hard day, the protagonist deduces that the gentleman wanted to know more about her power. Without knowing why she would prefer a walk in the storm to these mixed feelings. Rachel finds it strange that they call her that and gets scared when the fire escapes her hands. Now, the hardest part is explaining all this to this little one. Ava was also scared at that moment, but first she needs to reconcile her with her brother when she asks if she thought Noel was great. Rachel immediately asks for more details. Actually, he's tall and has broad shoulders. Eva has never seen anything like it. He's her ideal type. And to top it off, he has an incredibly attractive face. Noel seemed like her ideal, but wolves are sworn enemies of dragons. So no, Rachel was willing to try it. Just because her sister wanted them to become friends, she could go out with him 3 times a week. As long as Eva was with her, the fact that the young mistress didn't return with the others puzzled the dragon squad a bit. As for that girl, her light touch was enough to calm the fire that raged in the captain. Suddenly, Noel ordered to send more people to protect the house and watch them soon. Sion visited the sisters. Just as they were discussing Rachel's brother, it turned out the boy simply hated that guy. But Eva assured them there was a misunderstanding. Hearing that Sion got angry, and besides Ruby for him is Ruby, he doesn't want to call her anything else, thinking about what to do now. Eva realized that their main obstacle would be her brother. She almost forgot, with everything that happened, that she promised the children to play together outside, although Sion says there are many dangers, so she decided it was better not to. Hearing that the boy waited with panic that at least they could play near the house, deciding to be more affectionate today, Eva sent them out for a walk alone as she had her own things to do. Bundling up warmly, the children were very happy and planned to make a snowman before leaving. Eve warned them to run home if they saw a stranger, but already in the yard, and despite the prohibition, Rachel moved further and further away from the house. It's that she wanted to show Sion something he would love, and it's not toys, but real magic. Seeing the enthusiasm in the boy's eyes, Rachel understood that he liked her fire magic. Shortly before Sion, by pure luck, witnessed how Rachel lit a fire with her hands. He begged her to show more, but the girl desperately swore she had done nothing. Only when the boy threatened to tell his sister everything, Little Red Riding Hood agreed to show him her fire. It's very warm. The little one kept his word and didn't tell his older sister anything. The flame is small, but it's warm. Sion liked it a lot, determined to comfort his naive soul. Rachel clenched her fists, and in that instant the fire disappeared. Now it's cold. It seems the weather in the north is too cold. Sion has asked his sister many times to move to a warmer place, but she refuses. But the reason for this he was only willing to reveal if Rachel made fire. Only when the flame appeared in the girl's hands he told that Eva had a couple of options in mind for a better future. However, Ruby didn't expect it to be a place that nobody knows anything about. With those ideas, the fire in her hands grew, and to the naive Sion it seemed amazing. From him, the girl learned that her sister really wanted to strive to win a castle. It became clear that Eva's favourite things are handsome guys, a castle, a lot of money, and a secret place. Then Rachel understood everything. Her older brother could fulfill all of Eve's wishes. She knew how to fulfill all her sister's wishes. They needed to go after that handsome guy. First, it was all a misunderstanding. She apologised, and besides, she could take Sion to warm places. The smart boy was so happy that without meaning to, he showed his little ears. Upon realising it, he asked the girl to pretend she hadn't seen anything. But he forgot his tale, fearing they would scold him. He hoped Rachel wouldn't tell his sister anything. But then Little Red Riding Hood wanted him to promise something, not to hate her older brother the next morning. Eva woke up at dawn to some unexpected knocks on the door. At the entrance was Noel. He had promised to come today. They hadn't seen each other in a long time, as the lady noticed his dishevelled appearance. The captain thought he had arrived too early. At that hour, Rachel was still sleeping. The children played until late now. Nothing would wake them up upon seeing his sister. Noel hoped she wasn't causing much trouble for Eva. Rachel is a sweet and obedient girl. In fact, it's the first time she has obeyed someone. At that moment, the girl opened her eyes. She thought the two of them looked good together, seeing the girl close her eyes again. Eva supposed she hadn't fully woken up yet. Suddenly, Noel asked if it was the first time, referring to their meeting. As the lady seemed familiar to him without confirming it, the protagonist said she had lived here since birth, so they couldn't have crossed paths, with a thought about how slow that guy was. Rachel opened her eyes and woke up. Judging by her face, she was very happy and wished her sister a good morning. But upon seeing that guy, her face changed. She felt warmth, as if she had been touched in her dreams. The strange thing is that both seem indifferent, as if they were complete strangers determined to help them. Eva came up with an idea and asked Rachel to take her, by the hand also taking her brother so she could gradually get used to his temperature. However, the girl thought it wasn't right and immediately pushed the two of them closer together. Actually, Noel was very confused. It's the first time he's felt so cold that worries him through his hand. Eva felt warmth, and she thought that's what he wanted to check that time. Seeing them holding hands like lovers, Sion didn't understand what they were doing. Throwing himself on them, the boy shouted that he wanted them to hold his hand too. Eva stopped him immediately, saying he couldn't behave like that in front of a guest, and ordered him to sit down. But just today, the boy is very capricious and demanded to be included in the game too. In that case, Noel suggested playing hot and cold, a game that Sion loves. Suddenly seeing a wolf's tail on the boy, Eva panicked and decided that the bad end had come for them. With a careful movement, she hid the tail. Fortunately, neither Noel nor Rachel noticed the tail, thinking that the ears would soon appear. The protagonist understood what that would mean for her. Her bewildered look attracted the captain's attention, so the girl started to do everything so he wouldn't look down. Praying that Sion wouldn't lose his composure, Eva noticed how warm Noel's hands were while everyone was distracted. Rachel unexpectedly decided to intervene and fixed her younger brother's hair. She found it adorable that his hair was very messy. He looked like a little puppy. In that instant, Sion seemed to come to his senses. His tail disappeared instantly. According to Noel, he is a friendly boy, but he finds it hard to play with children and gets worried this little one is very obedient, not like Rachel. That's why the captain likes him. Just as Eva wanted to stop the boy, Rachel suddenly felt warm and wanted to hug him. Noel's hugs are warm. He's like a big warm sun. That's how they described him for the first time. And he is also beautiful in Sion's eyes and to Eva's taste. Hearing that the girl almost caught fire with embarrassment, explaining that the boy wasn't awake yet and was talking nonsense, she was literally speechless when her brother revealed that she likes handsome boys who cry in that case. She decided to interrupt Sion immediately and take him away for today. It has been enough when Sion was a baby. Eva always made fun of him when he started to cry. Who would have thought that karma would catch up with her? She begged the captain to pretend he heard nothing at sunset. Mr. Ramio was about to leave. It was time, but he promised to come back suddenly. He leaned over Eva, as if he wanted to ask her for something, but he lacked the courage. But seeing his sister's perplexed look, he said he didn't need anything. On the way, the dragon captain understood that it was dangerous to trust strangers. It could be risky because of his heart. He had killed too many innocent people, even his parents. He can't control his terrifying strength and the fury that hides inside him, but the question is, how did that girl manage to tame it so easily without knowing why? Even while controlling his inner fire, Noel couldn't stop thinking about her. The mere thought of that cold girl makes anguish pulse in his chest, burning his heart. Thinking about her brings a constant smile to Noel's face, without really understanding why that question reminded him of a dream he had a few days ago. He woke up in a weightless space, not knowing what was happening, with a sharp pain in his hand. Suddenly a girl emerged from the flames. But everything was confusing. It was impossible to see her face, knowing he would suffer if he got closer. Noel tried to warn her not to come closer at that instant. A luminous creature, unknown, touched his hand and instantly dispelled his infernal fire. The pain disappeared suddenly, but the master had no idea who that girl was or how she did it. Just as she was about to say her name, the dream was suddenly interrupted. Maybe it's because she's Noel's only salvation from his deadly disease. That's why thinking about her makes him smile without realizing it. Love at first sight has nothing to do with it. That's just for romance novels. He thought about those feelings. Noel suddenly turned around. Rachel, who was running after him, called him slow in her eyes. He's just a fool, an idiot, a blockhead, and a guy with less intelligence than a dragon. The only good thing is at least he didn't ruin her plan. He couldn't take Eva to such a dangerous place. And even though it's not safe here, Rachel couldn't care less, hoping her brother would get the hint. She reminded him that Eva likes boys who are pretty when they cry. Most importantly, Eva dreams of living in a palace. She's a good girl who knows what she wants and gets it according to Rachel. Her brother fits the description perfectly. She just doesn't understand why he's hesitating. She was convinced he shouldn't, convincing himself he feels nothing for her after agreeing to help. The girl begged her brother not to forget that he's a boy and must take the initiative the next morning. Eva was getting ready to leave, but her little sister didn't want to let her go, determined to go to the market. Rachel wanted to know if that boy had given her money. It turned out he gave her quite a bit, but the girl needs to visit her friend. After saying goodbye, she sent the little one back to bed, promising to return later for Rachel. It's no secret that Eva took a basket of herbs with her. Even though her brother gave her so much money, the little girl's excessive ambition was approved by Little Red Riding Hood. That girl deserves to be her stepsister. Suddenly she remembered that Eva always covers her face when selling herbs, so that no one recognizes her. It turns out she did go to see her friend, and maybe that friend is actually her boyfriend. It's obvious she wanted to get a lot of money to live with her boyfriend. Happily ever after, Rachel didn't even consider that possibility and decided to follow her. However, she didn't expect Sion to wake up and want to go with her too. The girl wanted to follow her sister in secret and come back quickly so he wouldn't notice. But if she doesn't take the boy with her, he will surely follow her and could get lost on the way back. Rachel agreed to take him with her. Only if he promised to stay by her side, they set off for a cold and boring place. It was time to find Little Red Riding Hood's stepsister. On the way, Eva couldn't stop thinking about her last conversation with Rachel about the money Noel gave. Not long ago, she saw 2 huge bags of gold in front of her and didn't know how to interpret it. She thought Noel would despise her for her strange preferences, but he gave her a lot of money. Then he seemed so happy, as if giving away money was his hobby. Although the money was excessive, he felt it wasn't enough and was willing to give more. Eva wanted to ask how much more he could add, but acting on instinct in front of a stranger is bad with a charming generosity. The gentleman told her not to hesitate to ask for more. He could give her anything she wanted, however, gritting her teeth. The young woman asked to exchange the money for something more valuable for a smile in an instant. Ava decided to spend it all. Her instincts took over again. Noel said he would give her all the money she wanted, but she was afraid to ask for a fortune. Just holding his hand was enough to make her cheeks blush with shyness. Modest boys are her type. Now that the heroine has a lot of money, she can deliver the last order and go back to the children. At that moment, a male voice was heard. One of her regular customers was calling her, "He is a businessman who is always traveling for work, so he knows a lot. Sometimes he tells interesting stories without knowing she's a girl, the tigers of the East love nutritious vegetables. That's why he likes the herbs. What an unexpected fact." At his request, if brought more, maybe this is the last day she'll be selling. It happened so suddenly that the businessman became distressed. Where will he buy herbs for his tigers now? However, he found out how to contact intermediaries for illegal migration. Regarding this, he hoped the seller knew that they now have a new ruler held her breath upon learning that illegal migration was strictly forbidden. Assuring that there is still plenty of time, the businessman proposed waiting for the ban to be lifted. But he didn't even suspect that had very little time left. Surprisingly, the regular customer decided to give her a farewell gift. Those rare herbs are impossible to find or buy. They are like drugs, deciding that the businessman was a madman. The girl refused the offer and returned the package. She turned out to be more honest than he thought, but he still offered her to taste the mind-blowing flavor of a new world. A world of death when the frost comes. That is the reason why Eva decides to throw it away on her way home. On second thought, the frost in the north is not deadly. Unlike heatstroke, Eva is in mortal danger. She thought she could move to a warm place, but she didn't expect everything to end like this now. The heroine has no choice. She will have to stay and take care of Rachel. The only thing that could calm her thoughts was seeing her little ones. But the door was not locked and it was empty inside Sion, and Rachel had disappeared, worried about what happened to them. Ava ran in a panic back to the forest, still hopeful Eva called for her children, but her attempts failed, indicating they were not in the forest trying to find them. She thought they might have gone to the square. Rachel is different from the locals. They will notice her instantly and recognize her, so she must be found quickly. They weren't in the alley where they sold herbs together, nor on the street where they walked. Eva didn't understand where they had gone. She blamed herself for not watching them before she ran without looking. Tears prevented her from seeing, and she bumped into a stranger. It turned out that under the black hood, Noel was hiding. Upon seeing the young woman, he guessed something was wrong, unable to hide the truth. Eva confessed that the children had disappeared, blaming herself for leaving them alone. She only cared about money. She is an irresponsible sister. When the young woman returned home, the children were already gone, and she understood all her guilt upon hearing that Noel was the first to suggest she calm down. Now was not the time to cry. Without a second thought, he ran off, determined to go look for them. She was driven only by prayers for Rachel and Sion to be safe until she found them. Meanwhile, little Sion was doubting more and more that they had come to the right place. Upon seeing the scary guys with knives, he felt they shouldn't be there. He is very scared, but after such a long journey, Rachel wanted to find her sister. She also ordered the boy to stop crying. Crybabies are not to her liking. Rachel thought Eva had weird tastes, and Sion decided to support them. That's why he cries. In any case, it was time for them to get out of there. However, after all those harsh words, Sion was very offended and ran away crying to find his sister by himself. If he keeps running, he will reach the central square, and there they will surely be seen aware of what was happening and of all the risks. Rachel understood she had no choice using her magical fire abilities. The girl decided to force him to stop. It turns out Sion likes fire. He's a complete idiot. Rachel never spoke ill of her sister. Whoever she likes, Eva is her most adored future stepsister. It seems the problem is solved. The best way to make a naive wolf wag its tail is fire. Rachel was sure there was no one around, until she saw a man behind her who saw her fire. He said he had simply made a mistake, but it's obvious she won't be able to hide under the scarf. Hearing the accusations against her for creating fire, the brave girl protected her brother, judging by his lifeless gaze. This man is dangerous. Without hesitating to show her dragon power, Rachel told him it was none of his business. And to leave without fear, she warned him not to come closer. Threatening with her fire, upon seeing the ring on her finger, the man understood why the merchant had rejected him. Laughing out loud, the bastard didn't understand how a dragon dared to come to the north, how she dared to speak to him with such an arrogant tone, threatening to take his life now the man thought he could make a lot of money. By selling those children, fearing for his sister, Sion began to hit the scumbag, demanding that he let her go. For that he got a beating. Besides, now his half-breed secret has been revealed. Rachel must protect Sion, but she couldn't breathe at that moment. Something happened. A fiery explosion hit the bandit's back. Burning his body for that insignificant being to dare to approach the girl, Noel considered it unforgivable. All his dragon fury was unleashed on the man who had dared to touch the little girl. An unbearable pain burned the man from the inside. At that moment, he only had enough strength left to beg for mercy. Noel was deciding his fate. Thinking about what to do with that irritating wolf, he suddenly felt a touch in tears. Sion was begging him to stop. He was really scared. It seemed like total madness, unable to control his power. Noel fell to his knees and apologized. The peace and happiness he had felt in the last few days had almost completely blinded him. He almost forgot who he is. Wolves are his enemies to be killed, but only one thought stopped him. The fear that it might scare Ava, just thinking about it, made his heart freeze when the fire was suddenly extinguished. The surviving man accused the captain of wanting to murder him. According to him, you don't attack wolves in their territory. He was going for the leader, but suddenly he fell. Throwing a frozen apple at him, Eva couldn't believe that scoundrel was capable of this, even after the man lost consciousness. She kept blaming him for what he dared to do. He dared to touch the girl with his filthy claws. Eva thought she should have killed that addict before. Furious and thinking that those despicable beings deserve hell, she grabbed the apple and decided to finish him off. In that instant, Noel ran and snatched the apple from her hands. He couldn't allow such cruelty. Although the girl tried to break free and kill the guy, he was sure she wasn't in her right mind. Suddenly, Rachel realized she didn't want Eva as a daughter-in-law. She would want a wife like that herself. Just as the wolf girl exhaled weakly, Noel held her by the waist and caressed her face. He apologized, hoping she had already calmed down. Only now did the protagonist understand the mess she had made. It seems she regained her composure. These thoughts vanished with the cry of a child. Little Sion was so distressed that he now longed to hug his sister. However, a furious Eva demanded that he answer why he left home without permission when she had asked him to wait. She lived in fear of such a misfortune happening. That's why she tried to protect her brother from it. It's impossible to imagine how much Eve worried, fearing the little one would suffer. Sion was certainly at fault for disobeying, but what a relief that nothing happened to him feeling guilty. Rachel couldn't stand aside and confessed that she was the one to blame, saying it was she who asked Sion to go with her. Tears welled up in her eyes. Sion denied these words. It was he who begged Ruby to take a walk outside together and then ran away from her. Eva believed it was her fault. She should never have left the two of them alone. Without evading her responsibility, Rachel kept blaming herself for saying his tastes were weird, but Sion still thought those tastes weren't weird, but special. Until the end, the children blamed themselves, promising to love each other and respect their tastes. Suddenly interrupting them, Noel admitted the girl did have surprising tastes. It's time to stop crying and go home. But first, the children must thank the man for saving them. Without hesitation, Sion ran to hug him. Without Noel, they would be in big trouble. Thanking her brother was much more difficult for Rachel. She timidly thanked him. It seems Noel finally took the initiative. Extending his arms, ready to hug the little one with a big smile, the girl threw herself into his arms. Maybe now they are truly happy. Sion was hungry, so Eva suggested buying food on the way. But suddenly, they discovered that Rachel had lost something in an alley. The girl suggested going back, asking what she had lost, but Rachel preferred to go with her brother Noel. Told Sion and her to go on ahead, promising they would catch up soon. The addict in the alley almost died, but now these people need something from him again. He brought it on himself. He shouldn't have scared Rachel and Sion, and now he will pay for disturbing his future sister-in-law at nightfall. The children finally fell asleep and Eva could sigh with relief. Suddenly Noel asked if everything was all right, but he wasn't referring to the children, but to Eva. The girl's eyes reddened noticeably the moment his hand gently touched her cheek. She assured him everything was fine, that she had just gotten very scared, feeling that what happened was her fault. According to Noel, she shouldn't blame herself. She will learn from this, and it won't happen again. She shouldn't feel guilty for what the children did. She did very well. And as the dragon captain believed, she did everything to protect them. Upon hearing that he wanted to propose something, the girl fled in a panic to gather herbs. The cold, clear air refreshed her soul like the first snow covering the earth. So many things happened today, but the heroine never imagined something like this would happen. For that very reason, she won't be able to simply get it out of her head so easily. The decision to recover before returning home was completely justified. The next day, Ava didn't feel well. She felt really sick. She couldn't believe that a short walk at night would lead her to catch a cold. Upon noticing her high temperature, Noel insisted she urgently needed to take medicine. He wasted no time and took it upon himself to prepare an herbal infusion for the common cold. It seems everything is going well. Sion even wanted to help but forgot he can't use fire, watching them select herbs from the piles. The heroine's eyes were closing. She didn't even notice when she fell asleep and opened them again when Noel offered her the medicine. The headache was unbearable, but the herbal infusion was supposed to bring relief with just one sip. Ava felt the bitterness wash over her, but she gritted her teeth and drank every last drop time to sleep. Noel left the rest of the infusion on the table for her to drink more when she woke up. She didn't know if it was due to weakness, but his hands touching her made her feel between heaven and hell. Through his touch, she felt his love and desire to protect her. Ava fell asleep instantly. She had no idea what was happening, and upon waking up, she realized she had slept the whole day. But instead of her hands, the girl saw wolf paws and a tail she had transformed into a she-wolf. She couldn't believe it. She slept like a log for so many hours and woke up turned into an animal. For a moment, the protagonist thought she was still asleep, and that it was all part of her imagination. So Eva tried to calm down. She closed her eyes and counted to 10, hoping everything would return to normal. But upon counting to 8, she understood it wasn't a dream. She was just trying to deny reality. Confused thinking about what had happened, she suddenly noticed a peculiar scent. Her nose was stuffy from the cold, but she still smelled a dreadful stench. Eva had asked Noel to make an herbal infusion from her basket. But those herbs have no side effects. Upon seeing the blue herb on the table, the girl couldn't believe she drank an infusion of that rare herb. It's no wonder she transformed. Although it had never happened in history, now the wolf girl has to return to her human form before they arrive. Just imagining her siblings discovering the truth, she knew she was done for first. She needs to get out of here to regain her human form when the drug's effect wears off, thinking Eva was still asleep. Rachel entered the room. Fearing she would disturb her sleep upon seeing a white wolf in front of her, the girl stood dumbfounded, paralyzed and speechless. Judging by her face, she understood what it was, but Sion apparently didn't get it. He thought it was something magical. They have lived in the forest since they were born, so he has never seen other wolves, and Eva never showed him what they looked like. Those ears and that tail looked familiar to him. In that instant, the girl prayed they wouldn't recognize her, just as Sion was about to say who it looked like. Rachel suddenly covered his mouth and said it was a dog, staring at the snow-white creature she claimed she had seen one like it before. However, Sion found it strange that his sister disappeared and a dog appeared. Sion only uses his brain when it's not necessary, so he guessed his sister was connected to this, determined to do something. Ava used her Lupin charm to distract them. As soon as Sion took the bait, Rachel assumed her sister was feeling hot. That's why she decided to go cool off, watching him hug the dog. One would feel sorry for the sister who is forced to pretend to be a dog because of him. The protagonist almost forgot her desperate situation. When a male voice was heard, it was clear the final boss was about to appear, and the first thing he was interested in was the reason that creature was there. Eva thought acting cute wouldn't work. The captain was not easy to fool. While she hesitated on what to do, the children defended her, assuring him it was just a puppy. Rachel, determined to raise the dog, demanded attention for it. Because it wasn't just any dog hearing this. Noel was perplexed. It was the first time his sister had behaved this way. But suddenly something more important overshadowed his thoughts. Eva had disappeared. Herbs were scattered on the table. The bed was a mess, as if she had jumped up and fled in a hurry. The sudden appearance of that dog aroused Noel's suspicions. His facial expression screamed to the four winds that he was in a very bad mood. Ava knew she would soon erupt in fury, but she couldn't scare the children with fire, so she firmly decided she had to avoid a disaster at all costs. Facing the fearsome Noel, she gently stepped on his foot and made a puppy dog face. And although Eva hoped he would forgive her this time, it's obvious it won't work. It seems she'll have to accept her death. And the worst part is, she'll die as a wolf. However, Noel noticed her charm. He understood Rachel. The sky blue eyes of the fur were the most beautiful he had ever seen. The captain's mood changed drastically. It worked out forever. She finally felt his gentle caresses. And she wouldn't mind behaving, but seeing how cute she was pretending to be Noel, thought she didn't need to try so hard. He decided to go gather firewood and told his sister to take care of the puppy, as he was very confused. Assuming Eva went out for a walk, he left the children to look after the house until he returned in reality. The dragon captain barely restrained himself from attacking her. He didn't know she was a wolf. If Rachel hadn't stopped him, he would have annihilated her instantly. Not knowing what to do now, fury and an unconscious power cloud Noel's reason. Exasperating him after his departure, Rachel sighed with relief and suggested getting ready for bed. She said the puppy also needed to sleep, so her sister would have time to return to her real form in peace if Rachel hadn't stopped. Noel, Eva wouldn't have survived, so she was very grateful. However, she didn't know what to do to return to her human form. The girl cooled her fervor, but there's a risk of not returning to her previous form because of the drugs her eyes closed on their own at that moment. Eva thought she shouldn't pressure herself, but simply give herself some time to heal. Under the cover of night, she transformed into a human. Today had truly been a difficult day. Noel returned home late when the girl was already human. He was sure that she had panicked upon transforming into a wolf. He was only interested in her reaction to knowing that he knew everything. At first, to get to know Eva better, the Lord used Rachel as an excuse to contact her if she were the wolf of legend. Noel would have to take her heart to save his own life, but since he's in love, he decided to stay by her side forever. All the hidden emotions in his heart were revealed. The dragon didn't want to hurt her. He wanted to be with her forever. And for that, he needs to do something so Eva will choose him. So Ramir must become someone she likes. If he could control his powers, he would use them to warm her. Feeling his warmth, the girl flinched and the Lord immediately withdrew his hand. But just when, Eva grabbed his arm and pulled him towards her. Noel knew that his only heartbeat for her, sometimes it floats like the moon in the sky. Sometimes it plummets to the earth. In this awkward moment, the young man prayed to the God he never believed in. Wishing for Eva to love him the next morning, the protagonist woke up, thinking the weather was warmer today. In that instant, she reconsidered and saw Noel sleeping in front of her, holding her hand tightly, hoping he would notice her tail and ears. The girl couldn't believe he had spent the whole night like that. She even thought he would tie her up and interrogate her when she woke up. Just as Eva decided to run away, she suddenly heard his voice. Noel felt that she had woken up, squeezing her hand even tighter. He told her that the previous night she had gone for a walk and had frozen, confirming his story to Eva. She was terrified by the mere thought of him holding her hand all night, shortly after the captain decided to leave. He really thought this girl was adorable, and although Eva hoped Rachel would regain her memory and leave with her brother, the girl declared she didn't remember anything. In that case, the protagonist apologized for holding Noel's hand for so long, thinking he hadn't slept well. Surprisingly, he even offered his help. Anytime it was convenient for her, Eva was willing to make an effort and do everything in her power to please him. So if she didn't mind, Noel asked her to stroke his hair. Not knowing why he was so insistent today, Rachel also decided to help. She pretended that her brother Sion was already waiting for her, so she decided to leave urgently. At that moment, everything inside Eva collapsed. Being left alone with the captain made her feel uncomfortable every second that Noel held her hand. She felt a cold that chilled her to the bone. Holding hands sounds nice, but stroking his hair would be a true paradise. The mere thought of Eva disliking his touch caused a strange sensation in Noel, knowing he was asking too much. He couldn't forget that icy instant they shared together just to make him stop talking nonsense. Eva agreed to gently stroke his hair. His heart races. The wolf is stroking the dragon captain himself. While his heart beat uncontrollably, Noel realized he must look like an idiot. A few days later, Eva noticed that something had happened with the children at home in her absence, so she decided to take them for a walk. On the condition that they wouldn't wander even 1 centimetre away, addressing his sister Sion, proposed a joint visit to the town's bookstore. Eva thought it was a good opportunity to buy books from the human world and begged her children for silence. The children were fascinated in the store, but their sister watched to make sure they didn't take off their cloaks, suddenly among so many books. The heroine saw that adult romance novel before reincarnating Eva, also read that novel where the protagonist cried in front of his beloved. It occurred to her to buy it, now that she had so much free time on her hands. Upon seeing an empty shelf, Eva understood that there were no books about the human world when she asked the seller. She hoped they were all sold out, but she never imagined they were banned due to massive illegal migration to the human world. According to the seller, their king became enraged, and they removed the books until the situation improved in the end. She bought a book she wasn't that interested in, thinking she was trapped in the north forever. It was late when they returned home. Everyone was sleeping peacefully except Rachel. She heard her sister talking about the human world and believed she wanted to move there. Realizing that they might not see each other again, the girl decided to prevent it at all costs, using her powers. She summoned a fire phoenix to ask for a favor. Rachel ordered it to bring the book Eva had bought that morning. If she didn't tell anyone, the book must be related to her moving plans. But upon seeing an adult romance novel, the girl couldn't believe her eyes. It had never crossed her mind that her sister was like that. To understand everything, she ordered the phoenix to memorize a fragment and transmit it to her brother. It didn't take long for the firebird to tell the young man everything the romance book hid. Noel burned with shame and was left petrified upon learning Eva's true preferences. Since he intends to please Eva, he must try his best to be an attractive crybaby. But there's no point in reading a bunch of sad stories if he can't manage to break into tears upon seeing Rachel's phoenix in his office. He thought something had happened to her. It turned out to be a message from his sister, ordering Noel to immediately find out Eva's type. When the young man discovered what kind of guys his beloved liked, he was speechless. Her ideal type is hot manly guys with a sexy smile and also being a hyena. Realizing he has nothing in common with her ideal, Noel decided it was not the time to learn to cry, and although it's night, he plans to leave for the north and clear everything up directly with her trying to stop him. The servant desperately tried to remind him that his lord has a meeting tomorrow in his head. Only the question echoed what the hell was happening in the north for Noel. To fly there daily at dawn, the children ran happily to play outside and even invited their sister to join, but Eva insisted they not worry about her and just enjoy playing. Only now did she realize that she should have taken them out to play before they were having so much fun. Although on second thought, last night she also had a great time reading that novel, completely losing track of time. The fire in his chest tormented him all night. That's why he travelled to his beloved. That's what the hyena confessed: his tanned skin and his flashy appearance. This type was not Eva's style at all. She hadn't read romance stories about a captive for a long time, so it was her fault for not checking the content. It's not that she didn't like strong guys, but she preferred someone who knew how to arouse her compassion. Eva likes guys with long, slender fingers, ideally dark-haired with fair skin and a gentle smile. If she could choose, she would wish for someone like Noel. Pushing those thoughts aside, the girl heard a loud noise coming from the forest. It was Noel. His appearance was shocking. He stood out even more beautiful against the white snow. Eva found it strange. Since they had not planned to see each other today, if his memory served him right, Sion said that she likes whiny and handsome guys. However, Rachel showed a completely different side from yesterday, driven by curiosity to know who she really likes. Noel decided to test it. He said a flame tormented him all night. That is why he made this trip to see Eva. The girl could not believe his words, repeated the hyena's line. At first she thought it was a coincidence, until Noel confidently asked her to cool him down. On second thought, it is unlikely to work if she is a she-wolf. Seeing her brother's ridiculous attempts to seduce the girl, Rachel did not understand what he was doing. She showed him how to behave to win her heart. Noel could at least tan his skin like a hyena. His sister gave him the perfect clue, but he failed anyway. In her fury, Rachel did not even listen to Sion. She made the decision Eva would be his wife. Because of what happened, Sion did not want to play with her anymore, but obviously she did not care. Sometimes the girl says things she does not understand. Although he does want to play with her, Rachel used to play with him before, but now her indifference hurt him. Although Sion could entertain himself, he's no longer worried about the girl. He will not agree to play with her anymore. Out of anger, the boy went deeper into the forest. When he suddenly came across something strange, as he bent down to pick it up from the ground, he never imagined what would happen to him. As uncomfortable as Noel feels, Eva thinks he should not unbutton his shirt like that. The hyena style does not suit him, so he was sure the girl would not like him. But in that instant, he felt a touch the last time, felt better when Eva caressed him. He was so jealous of the children at that moment that he said it without thinking, overcome by the tenderness of her hands. Noel could not believe she still remembered him to win the heart of such a delicate girl. He will have to try his best and research her ideal type. It was terribly awkward, but the young man really liked that tenderness now enveloping him in her affection. Eva hoped he was okay. She decided to help him, noticing he had missed a button. Noel blamed the suffocating heat for his sudden loss of control. He simply could not resist. He apologized and promised to be more careful next time and to hide his embarrassment if Eva did not like it. In that instant, the protagonist remembered her parents, not knowing what to do. She found her ideal, but he is a dragon. Meanwhile, in the forest, Sion found a beautiful stone like Ruby's eyes when he decided to take it home. Suddenly he ran into a mysterious stranger. Although he described himself as a good person, he had a disturbing smile. His sister had warned him once to be careful with those with narrowed eyes. Obviously, it is not easy to fool Sion. After all, his sister told him not to talk. With strangers, however, tricking cautious children is the specialty of this young man with hair of an amazingly colourful shade. Seeing his hair colour change, Sion could not believe his eyes. It turns out it is a fantastic ability. This guy is a chameleon. He can change colour whenever he wants. Now that the little opponent is defeated, we can get down to business, asking what the boy was holding in his hand. The young man discovered that he had found that stone by chance, that stone that looked so warm. The stranger suggested to Sion that he give it to his precious sister. The man even said he knew a place full of those things. But the boy just burst into tears. This is totally unexpected. It turns out his sister loves Ruby. His sister said that Ruby is so warm you can hug her every day next to her. Sion just felt like a small, cold child. He does not know if his sister will also hug him, if he has that thing. However, he understood very well that his sister did not love him. And that was not going to change with a few little stones. The stranger was moved to tears, hearing that he cannot stand to see others cry in distress. He tried to convince the boy that his sister did love him, that it was impossible that she did not. Sion will understand when he grows up. But right now he did not know what to do. The stranger advised him not to hate his sister, and maybe she did not show it. But deep down she loved him very much. Thanks to that man, Sion felt better. It was obvious that his sister would be happy to receive that little stone, and then all the boy's worries would disappear. They cried a little, but that is enough. It was time to get back to work and finish the task. If the boy took the bait, getting close to that girl would be easier. Chameleon had to take care of that just when no one expected it. A little girl came out of the forest. Seeing that man in the forest, she stopped breathing. Not understanding what he was doing there besides, she decided to find out why. Sion left alone without telling anyone. Because of him, the girl could not properly observe the brother and sister. The relationship between them improved noticeably. It seems Eva fell in love with Noel's shyness. Suddenly, Rachel yelled at Sion that her sister's ideal type was not a hyena. But seeing he was not there, although he did not help at all, it infuriated her that he could just leave silently. She advised the boy to come up with a good explanation before approaching her. Pressured by his furious sister, Sion could not take it, and so as not to be a traitor, he went to her now wanting to know who that person is. Rachel ordered him to tell her everything he knew. Until recently everyone was on pins and needles, because not only did the young mistress disappear, but the captain did not return either. Some had the feeling he was secretly raising a pet there, of course. The man was sure of what he was saying and would not claim anything without proof. The others could hardly believe the captain not only went there often but also bought mountains of romance novels. It was then that Carmelo received the order to leave for the north immediately. Not only did he not expect it, but against orders. He fell asleep in the meeting. He was ordered to secretly follow the captain the next time he went north, and also to try to get close to someone close to the captain and take advantage of it. More power was added to the stone purified by the captain's internal power. It is deadly for a normal person. The main thing you must remember, Carmelo must not let Rachel touch it, as this attribute is similar to her flame. If the woman the captain met is worthy of being his life partner upon touching the stone, she will absorb all its power. If an ordinary person touches it, they obviously will not be able to control it and will burn to ashes. There was really no other option, since the young mistress and the captain had been gone for a long time. Thinking about those scoundrels, Rachel could not believe they would use her brother's power to test his sister. What she wanted least was to endanger the person who had been so kind to her. So the girl asked her brother to give her the stone, believing something so dangerous should be with her. When the young mistress was about to touch the stone, Carmel was literally going crazy. He could not let the stone's fire attribute clash with her flame. The young mistress was in danger. Rachel kept trying to snatch it from him, and if she continued like this, sooner or later she would get it. The only solution at that moment was to swallow the stone. Seeing what that idiot was doing, Rachel ran to him in a panic. Yelling for him to spit it out, she insisted that Carmel's life was in danger. But in reality, it would be more dangerous if she had it. The situation got out of control. Rachel was going to use force if he did not spit it out. Fearing being hurt by the fire, Chameleon swallowed the stone, gritting his teeth in that instant. A demonic power emanated from him. His eyes turned white. Only Rachel understood what was happening. The horrifying Carmel transformed into a monster. He begged the young mistress to help him. It was obvious to the girl if he swallowed the stone with her brother's power, he would soon die. The fear she had forgotten was rekindled inside her. This nightmare reminded Ruby of her days in the north. She felt dread and did not want it to end like this. The moment fear made her cringe, she saw tears in Sion's eyes. He hugged her tightly. The boy wanted to protect his sister. He was trembling with fear, but still tried to protect her. Calming down, Rachel understood that if she let fear overcome her, Sion would also be in danger. With all her might, the dragon girl released her fire, warning that it would hurt a little. Suddenly, Carmel felt a brutal impact and was sent flying. The blow hit him squarely on the forehead. Incredibly, it was a frozen stone. Someone is trying to destroy their peaceful existence. And to achieve it, they even went so deep into the forest, arriving at the speed of the wind. The wolf girl ordered him not to touch her children. Eva was furious because that chameleon dared to touch them. Noel could not even stop her. She wanted to show the fool who he was messing with, but Rachel tried to explain the danger to her. Surprisingly, Carmel's body is burning with a fever from the hellish heat. Eva could not hold him. Her hands were instantly burned. Fortunately, she is okay, only her clothes got a little scorched. Noel was astonished by Carmel's presence and his condition. He had eaten the red stone. What happened made Rachel tremble with fear. She believed they were in imminent danger. Thinking about its origin, Noel deduced it must be a stone with its own power. Seeing Carmel's condition, it's obvious there was a lot of energy there. The Lord's life is in danger. But Saramia couldn't do anything. He knew his skills would only make things worse in that desperate moment. And despite the danger, Eva decisively ran to the injured man to help him. She couldn't let him die, having the power to extract heat with her own magic. Staring astonished at her amazing magical abilities, Noel didn't understand how it was possible right after Carmel woke up in an unknown room. Thinking he had died, a blue-eyed beauty who suddenly entered brought him back to reality. She noticed he had woken up when the girl touched his forehead to check for a fever. She looked like an angel. She gave the young man a medicine capable of eliminating the remaining heat. Then Carmel became convinced he was in paradise. No bosses, no work problems. Just as Noel entered with plants, the young man finally saw the boss. After receiving the best medicinal herbs, Eva prepared to make an infusion in that instant. The dragon's eyes filled with fury. He wanted to hear that bastard's excuses. The captain won't blame them for trying to bring him back. Just for that, he perfectly understands how Carmel feels. That's why he acts this way, but the main problem is that Eva and the children were almost hurt. Feeling his guilt, Carmel threw himself to the ground, ready to atone for his sin with his life. Just seeing that horror, Eva didn't understand anything, and her heart sank instantly. No, he knew he had to put on a brave face. He couldn't let what happened ruin everything. Trying to hide his mistakes, he ordered the boy to lie down again. Saying he had a fever, the captain was so gentle and considerate, it seemed strange as if he were pretending. After everything that happened, Carmel almost forgot the angel girl had saved him. But ice magic is a wolf's skill. So it's all obvious since the girl used magic to lower the fever. The young man assumed she was a wolf. For some reason, this happens every time the protagonist meets someone from the south. The children who ran in happily to see their brother saved Eva from the awkward conversation. Sion quickly calmed the atmosphere. But Rachel suddenly needed a hug. If he can't do it alone, she decided to help enough with the nonsense. The girl felt better instantly. But she said her brother also needed to cool down and proposed a group hug, seeing how close they are. Carmel decided to find out their relationship according to Eva. Circumstances brought them together. There is no relationship. Contrary to what she says, Rachel reveals everything. Actually, Eva is her sister and her brother's friend. The protagonist couldn't believe that. From now on, Rachel considers her Noel's friend. She thought she had misheard, because to be called his friend, there should be something between her and Noel. At the same time, Eva tried to convince herself there is nothing between them. After thinking it over, she considered the possibility that Rachel was referring to a friendship between the North and the South. There are cultural differences. The same word can have different meanings. For example, in the West, tigers eat grass. They say it does wonders for immunity. It couldn't be any other way. So Eva has to explain everything very clearly to her sister upon hearing his sister was now Noel's friend. Sion also decided to call Carmel a friend. From how the young lady treats them, it became clear to the chameleon that they can't be wolves, despite the rather rude question. Noel wasn't surprised at all seeing him. You'd never say anything was wrong. It's hard to understand why Rachel called the girl his friend. She asked him to hug her again after the young man felt better, and not wanting to be a bother, he decided to leave. As he left, Eva asked him to take care and to visit her if he was ever passing by. Maybe there won't be a next time. In such a short time, the protagonist met many Southerners, but she wondered if the word friend meant the same in the South as in the North. Out of curiosity, the girl asked if it was possible for Northerners and Southerners to use the same words. Noel didn't get to answer when they noticed that Rachel had gone somewhere. Noel followed her, thinking she was saying goodbye to Carmel, and Eva decided to inspect the house and its surroundings, actually. It seemed suspicious to Carmel that the captain now had a female friend. In other words, that girl is his future life partner. Everything will change soon. The young man must return and tell the people of the South. They must know as soon as possible that the captain plans to take his partner and her brother to the South at that moment. A bright flash illuminated Carmel. A phoenix almost landed on his head. He barely remembered it was his lady's bird. When the dragon brothers emerged from the trees after thinking for a bit, Noel decided to find out. What that man thought about Eva's power chameleon was sure she had the most powerful ice power he had ever seen. However, according to Noel, before taking her to the South, some preparations had to be made in a situation where a dragon appears in the North and forces its inhabitants to go south. They will flee out of fear. In that case, Carmel decided to talk to the people, so the benefactress and her brother would have a worthy welcome. And another point is, what will the Southerners think if Eva and her brother are presented as mages from the North? People will possibly mistake them for wolves, since mages often are. Chameleon had the task of explaining to them that mages are not wolves to avoid misunderstandings. The captain fully entrusted this task to him. and Carmel promised to do his best. Soon it was discovered that there was a person capable of controlling the captain's internal fire. The Lord found it hard to believe that such a mage existed. Of Ice, whom he had never met, determined to find out where she lives at all costs, he wanted to verify if she was truly human. This situation seemed strange to him, so he decided to go south, no matter what. One day the flames consumed the south, and sadness overcame everyone. The day came when the previous lord and his wife died because of the current lord's uncontrolled power. The boy promised himself he would do anything for his lord and the young lady to help him. He gathered the greatest ice mages in the world, and even secretly conspired with a half-breed werewolf. It was all in vain, and now a mage has appeared. Capable of controlling the Lord's power, it must be a trap by the filthy wolves. The legend said so. Feeling his responsibility, the Lord felt it was his duty to protect the captain. Meanwhile, the library had nothing useful, and Eva always shopped there. It would be great if they had good books for children. It would be a lifesaver. But since they reduced the selection, Eva can't even find anything for herself anymore. She looks for books about the human world yearning, to know if there is one that helps get there. Since Noel is the chief of the South, the girl assumes he has a private library. Actually, the captain isn't sure he had never wondered about it. Then Eva decides to ask one more time about words with meanings that are situational. It turns out that in the South, the word friend is used for a brother's wife. But when Rachel called Eva a friend, Noel and Carmel didn't say a peep. With a confused look, the captain said the word friend almost means that the protagonist was right in her thinking when Rachel called her that, but no one reacted, and Noel felt bad about the awkward situation. He wanted to correct his sister but couldn't speak. Hoping it was true, the young man was sure that Eva noticed his lack of control over his powers. That's why he endangered her and his people, causing great disasters in the South. It's all due to his parents having been born with only one heart. According to Eva, dragons are usually born with two and control their powers. Noel causes suffering to his loved ones. Fear consumes him. When he loses precious things, he can't stop thinking, this could happen again. Many tried to help him, but nothing worked. In the end, the only solution was for Noel to use different restraining devices. The stronger he gets, the harder it is to control. And then he met her when they touched. A sudden burst of absolute power enveloped him. No one could control his power like Eva did in the end, even though it sounds childish. The young man could only ask her to stroke his hair, because only then does he feel that coldness so strange to him. That's the reason Noel didn't object. When Rachel called the girl his friend, but more importantly, he couldn't say how much he liked her hugs. Now the heroine understood everything, how great that her power, which she thought was useless, can help Noel. But she is just a minor character, who disappeared from the plot quite quickly on her own, was burned by Sion, and suffered. She cannot accept helping Noel out of simple sympathy. Now that Rachel's memories have returned, she can leave for the South. Ava must think about how to enter the human world before it becomes more difficult. The only thing she can do for Noel is to hope that he finds his soulmate upon finally arriving in the North. The Lord of the South couldn't help but notice how cold it was here. How reckless of him not to think about the weather before travelling to the North. He has no money with him, so he can't even buy a basic set of winter clothes in the North. They didn't even give him credit. Those damn wolves threw him out without letting him get dressed. It's so cold that the fire won't light no matter what. The wolves will never conquer the dragon's heart. The old man couldn't believe that the captain's other half lived in a place like this. She must have used a cunning trick. Suddenly a child approached him and asked if he was cold. How unexpected. The boy assumed the gentleman was freezing, but he shooed the curious youngster away upon seeing he had a runny nose. Sion, without a second thought, gave him his warm scarf, and although the old man tried to show he wasn't cold, the scarf was incredibly warm, thinking he should return it. He agreed to borrow it for a moment. In the conversation, it turned out the boy had chased a kitten and gotten lost without realizing it. To the old man, this meant he gave the scarf, so they would help him find his sister. However, Sion assured him that wasn't true, as the gentleman also offered him help, knowing he was in trouble. His sister says that if you are kind to someone someday, you will be rewarded. The old man really didn't expect to find such a good child in the North. No matter if he is a wolf, the master swore on his honor that he wouldn't abandon him until he found his sister. However, everything was resolved much more easily. The sister herself suddenly appeared near them. Furious, Eva reminded her brother that he shouldn't run off alone. Now the old man finally saw the boy's older sister, but he was surprised to see the captain and Rachel. That being the case, then, she is the companion Carmen told them about. Obviously such an elegant and kind girl is human. The uncle felt bad for having suspected her. Thanking the boy for his kindness, he was sure that soon he would receive the reward he deserved for being good. The old man no longer needs the scarf, now he no longer feels cold. On second thought, it doesn't seem strange. At least they wanted to believe that. What luck Eva thought she would have to look for action all day, and couldn't buy food, fortunately. The little ones have become real helpers. Eva couldn't stop thinking about the words Noel had said to her in the morning. She was lost in doubt about whether it would be right to ignore his words as she thought about it. The girl witnessed a brutal attack in an alley. The poor wolf girl claimed she hadn't been seen or caused any disturbances. From the conversation, the protagonist heard that they arrest and interrogate half-breeds they accuse the she-wolf of. Sneaking into the human world and threatening the reputation of the wolves, it makes the young man's blood boil just thinking that those damn humans could despise them, ordering her to stop. The captain wanted to ask the girl a question. He proposed they cooperate in exchange for her and her brother being safe. Captain Ed wanted to know if she knew her blood relatives, the ones with white hair and blue eyes. Fleeing from there, Eva hoped she had misunderstood them, wishing they weren't looking for her and Sion, judging by the fact they need blue eyes and white hair. It's possible they are looking for them after all. So the heroine decided to leave the North in a hurry, but she didn't know what illegal immigration methods existed. They can't just move to another place without getting a permit first, suddenly. Noel entered the room with his brother and sister Eva had arrived before them. She said she was just looking for something, and asked them to wait in the living room upon seeing the books about the human world behind her back. The kids understood immediately that she wanted to move according to Rachel. Everyone knows she is trying to find a way to go there, so there's no point in hiding it, understanding how difficult it is for her sister to live in a foreign land. The girl proposed they go there together. The memories of when Ruby was there with her brother are blurry, so she is not sure she remembers everything. If she is not mistaken, her brother once told her that in the south, there is a passage that leads to the human world. They signed an agreement and built the passage so that the inhabitants would find it easier to travel. They say an illegal immigration method exists. Yes, it does exist, but Eva is not sure if the south is safe for them. Their secret is not yet revealed, but the truth will come to light. Taking the girl's hand, Noel asked if she would do him the honor of accompanying her and Sion. To the human world, he couldn't allow others to spread rumors that they were wolves just because they came from the north. Taking advantage of the situation, Noel decided to take Rachel home to the south. That's enough for him, and on the way, Rachel suggested to her sister that she go to her house. She wanted to see her and Sion for as long as possible. Eva had always wanted to see her too. Perhaps this is her last chance if she keeps hesitating. The only path to the south will close. They will see each other less and end up as strangers. Children forget quickly, especially promises. In reality, Rachel's plan is to not allow Eva to enter the human world. Under any circumstances, very soon she planned to turn the girl Eva into her familiar. She will not go to the human world because Rachel will make her love the south and forget everything else that night. The wolf captain was informed that they had brought the man he wanted to see. Finally, Ed met with the herb merchant who bought the immunity herb from the doctor. The captain likes the doctor's kindness and devotion, so he wants to give him a chance to start over. But this filthy man is not a doctor, but only a distributor. In that case, Ed ordered him to tell everything he knew about the person who gave it to him. The young man never saw their face clearly since they wore a mask at every meeting. This individual is quite slim. Most likely it's a girl who was disguising her voice. She has white hair. These reports match the testimony of a businessman. The subject the captain is looking for is suspected of helping with illegal immigration to the human world, and the distributor is one of those who helped her commit this crime. And even though the young man claims he didn't know, ignorance does not excuse him from responsibility. Now Ed can finally help her, that beautiful white-haired girl named Eva. Before moving, the paperwork has to be arranged, so Noel decided to go back to the south for a couple of days that night under the blazing moon. Eva saw for the first time how handsome Noel's true face was. Then she was sure that if they managed to get out of the north, they could live independently if Rachel returns home safe and sound. They won't need to see each other anymore, so he won't take them to the human world for the first time in her life. Thinking about that, Eva felt an incredible lightness. She felt stupid, as she couldn't even take care of herself, let alone others, but she believed that Noel would no longer need her powers. If he ever found his destiny until they reached the human world, Eva decided to help him whenever he asked. That will be payment for all the good he has done for them today. The captain of the wolves was going to investigate. It was his first case as captain. He couldn't slack off since he was responsible for the execution, since they were going out anyway. Ed suggested they take a look at that place. At that moment, a young man burst into the room. The captain had received an urgent message. This is urgent. It is something incredibly important. It turns out a letter arrived from the dragon captain Noel Ramia and his subordinates. will visit the northern forests in 3 days, sending the location as the captain of the South does not plan to stay long. He doesn't need special ceremonies. The assistant interpreted this communication as a total lack of respect for the North. What's more, it's very suspicious that he asked them not to organize a welcoming ceremony. Edmund became very curious about what that damn dragon needed. He decided to see for himself. The children packed their things quickly, and now they wanted to go play for a while. They won't need many things at first. They can buy everything necessary in the human world. Hearing the children's cry, Eva ran out and saw that something had happened. A whole flock of dragons, bloodthirsty, attacked the house. Nobody understood what was happening emerging from his entourage. Noel arrived to claim his beloved. Upon seeing him, Eva panicked. The first thing she wanted to know was who all the captain's trusted men were. They will help them get to the South as fast as possible, although there are not many of them. Seeing that the preparations were exhausting her, Noel sent the girl to rest, taking on everything else himself. Sion already imagined that he would soon leave the North, and surprisingly, he won't miss it. As long as his sister is by his side, he doesn't care where they are. Eva didn't care where she was with him either. Soon they would move to a warm place that they would love. One of the dragons has only lived in the South since childhood, so he has no idea what the North is like. But it seems incredible suddenly. Eva heard how others were suspicious of her and her brother for living alone in the forest for some reason. The people from the South call her the captain's companion and believe this is the perfect place for the wedding without knowing where that rumor came from. The girl wanted to explain everything at that moment. The one who read that the Southern captain didn't want. Ceremonies appeared. He was curious about what urgent matter was forcing Captain Noel to rush like this. Now Edmund saw it clearly. The one responsible for the illegal immigration is in the South. It's obvious that Noel despises wolves. He gave them fake coordinates to make them wait. As Ed suspected, the Southern captain plans to obtain information from the Northern wolves. But the most important thing is the white-haired girl known by her name. Eva, there is no room for error. It's her at last. The captain of the wolves has found her sensing danger. Noel came up from behind and grabbed Edmund tightly. Fear appeared in Sion's eyes. They lived in isolation all this time as the captain wanted, and now the only thing Eva wished for was for these people to leave them alone once and for all. It was Ed who ordered them to disappear from his sight, and that's exactly what they did. Just as he suspected, it was Eva and her brother who wanted to illegally cross into the human world. The real reason the Northern captain was looking for her was because he missed her. It's not hard to guess that these Southerners agreed to help them go to the human world in exchange for a favor. If the reason for her decision was based on a misunderstanding between them, Ed has changed and is ready to protect Eva. Hearing that, Noel thought there must be some mistake because the truth is, Eva is not going to the human world. But to the South with him, it doesn't matter if Ed has changed or what power he has obtained. Eva simply does not want to stay here anymore. On second thought, if Ed were in her place, he wouldn't want to live with so many restrictions either. But the girl never imagined he sought that position, knowing she suffered from racism. At that moment, panic filled the heroine, fearing that everyone would find out she and her brother are half-breeds. Suddenly, Rachel called Carmel and pointed to her sister, happy to see the captain's companion. The young man said the things were loaded. It was time to leave upon hearing others call for Eva. The Southern captain's companion gasped, trying to settle that stupid argument. The girl admitted she was Noel's mate. It was the only way to drive the wolf away, planning to explain everything to Noel when they reached the South. She was deeply sorry to bother him again, but he understood everything. Launching his magic bird into the air, Noel finally paved the way to a bright future. It was time to head south. It seemed this day would be remembered for a long time, but Ed was outraged and demanded the truth from Eva, asking if she was being threatened, assuring her that Guy was dangerous. He was convinced that she didn't even imagine the atrocities a dragon was capable of. However, Edmund was the one who made her life a misery. He was far more despicable. Watching the dragon soar, cutting through the northern sky, the captain understood he couldn't protect Eva, his father. The former Northern captain had taught him that half-breeds were not wolves. Everyone around him looked down on them, so Ed did too. But when their eyes met for the first time, he didn't know she was a despicable half-breed upon seeing her beauty. He couldn't help but be fascinated by her back then. The boy was too young to understand that he had grown fond of her. He was consumed by guilt for feeling something for a half-breed and was terrified because many people were watching him. But even so, Edmund can't be forgiven for what he did to her. He has lived with regret ever since on his way home. He decided he must grow up and become captain quickly so no one could hurt Eva. He swore he would make sure she was by his side. Under his protection, since you can't catch someone who can fly, the Northern captain decided to turn back. It's useless here, so he ordered a couple of agile subordinates to secretly follow the wolves. Ed knew Eva had impure blood, so she might lose control. No one knew if those cruel Dragons would take advantage of her weakness to brainwash her left behind. The only thing Ed can do is search for her tirelessly. The journey south was incredibly exciting. It was a long-awaited day, and Eva never imagined she would go to the land of the dragons. Of her own free will, as they were about to arrive, Noel suddenly suggested she look down, where there was a beautiful view, and if she didn't mind he was going to take her hand, it wasn't because of her fever. He wanted to show the girl many beautiful things because she trusted him. The captain said this, hoping that she would only have happy memories before going to the human world. Noel is very kind, but the question is whether he will still be so if he finds out Eve is a half-breed. He didn't suspect anything before, but there was a risk he would discover the truth. Suddenly Rachel said that what her sister was thinking would never happen. The little girl noticed something was bothering her and assumed she was afraid of falling. For a moment Eve thought this girl could read minds, but Rachel was actually always on her side. Now they had the chance to enjoy the view from the sky together when she was a child. Her mother used to say that dragons weren't as terrible as they seemed. Since her mother had never seen them, Eva thought she didn't know what she was talking about, but her great-great-grandmother used to say they were kind. Although that was a long time ago, the story was passed down to the present day. They say dragons are very sensitive. That's why her mother always said that Eva should be kind to dragons if she ever met one. And that way she would surely be able to get along with them. Arriving in the south was like reaching the tropics. The wolves thought they were in paradise. The main character hadn't imagined the south like this. She couldn't believe so many plants were in bloom. Sion saw a butterfly for the first time and knew its name. Eva had only seen them in books before, while playing with the winged creature, the boy accidentally bumped into a gentleman and immediately apologized. The man hoped the little one was all right. He hadn't been able to introduce himself properly last time. Hopper serves under the captain's command. It was late, but he asked them to accept his gratitude for their help. In the novel, he's a complex character. He hates wolves, and the heroine feels uncomfortable around him if you need anything. Hopper insisted they let him know without hesitation. He didn't expect the girl to ask for a scroll, something that only exists in the south. According to him, they have a library of scrolls, but it would be difficult to access it now first. Hopper instructed the girl to take the antidote and change into lighter clothes, suitable for the south. Then she could take a look around. While the department head caught up on pending matters, Eva felt right at home here, all because she was the commander's companion. Suddenly the servant asked why the girl wanted to go to the library. Promising to help her pick out books, the heroine made it clear that she hadn't found any books about the south in the north. So she came here, and now she dreamed of reading the legend of the dragons to help Noel. Hopper said her presence would be enough for the captain, but knowing the history was also a good thing, Eva knew very well that if she was discovered, the mission and Noel would be in danger. It was a shame, but she was terrible at controlling her emotions. It seemed hopeless. The first thing the girl did was start with the history of the southern Caspian continent. The story says that God rules the heavens, death, and the world, while humans rule the earth. The dragons, whose lives bordered on immortality, descended to this world. At first they couldn't adapt, but thanks to their wisdom and the red dragon, they managed to settle safely in the south, however. Soon clashes between the mountain dragons and the beastmen increased, and they began to suffer. So they asked the strongest red dragon to be their leader. He had a noble heart, so he accepted. Meanwhile, some humans and wolves mistakenly thought the dragons had taken over the south. The leader was wounded when he fell into a malicious human trap, and a wolf took the opportunity to steal his heart. The first dragon couldn't handle his excess power. With only a single heart, his situation was critical. That's why the dragons travelled north to recover the heart. But they couldn't find that wolf in the end. The dragon leader died, and thus began the war between the north and the south. The war ended thanks to the intervention of the leader of the Western Mermaids and the leader of the Eastern Lions, following the declaration that the wolf had sold the heart to a dragon hunter. A second war broke out between the south and the human world. Because of these events, the worlds of humans and beasts were separated. It was impossible to restore the good relationship between the north and south. The location of the heart remained and still remains unknown. After reading the story, Eva couldn't find a single clue. She kept wondering if the Eva from the novel could influence Noel's passion. As a wolf with that heart, it would be impossible, otherwise she wouldn't have died from Rachel's dragon fire. It can't burn a heart as strong as Noel's. The more the girl thought about it, the more tangled her thoughts became. Suddenly she heard Rachel's voice saying that Sion had fallen asleep. It had been a busy day. It seemed Eva was also exhausted, having fallen asleep at the table. It was normal with so much on her mind. The young woman thought she should take her sister to her chambers, though the bridal chamber would be better once as a child, while gathering herbs in the forest. Her father showed her a flower created by magic. Eva began to complain, saying she was already freezing, and that it was time to gather the herbs. It was snowing heavily in the forest, and they had to collect them and dream of returning home soon. But suddenly, the snow stopped, and the girl believed her father had that power right after that. Eva woke up. Realizing she was in different clothes, she was about to run to find the children. But Noel told her they were asleep. Since they were in his chambers, he hoped the young woman had rested well. And even though the lady wanted to leave immediately, to the captain it was natural for her to be there, as everyone in the palace believed Eva was his mate, and he hadn't prepared a separate room for her. So as not to disturb her, the young man was about to leave, but he suddenly felt sick and almost fell. He just had a slight fever. Eva promised to help him whenever she could. Since arriving in the south, the captain hadn't rested. He must have been working hard. He was truly exhausted today, but he was happy to be in the presence of his beloved, noticing her flushed face. The girl thought his fever was getting worse in reality. The young man wasn't blushing from the temperature. It wasn't that at all. It was because he had dared to ask Eva if she would let him hold her. Noel's thoughts were already muddled. He only asked for a hug for just a moment. Maybe he could calm down in her arms. It was just a hug. The heroine tried to convince herself of that. Pressing against his chest, she heard his heartbeat. And for a moment, she forgot to breathe. Torturing herself with guesses as to why this was happening, Eva was afraid to admit she was the cause of his distress. Mostrando valentia decidió preguntar tal vez resulte mal pero ella quiere saber la chica preguntó si a Noel no le daba curiosidad. Porque no estaba en forma de bestia y vivía en el norte la atormentaban las dudas sobre si le gustaría cuando supiera que era mestiza. Al ver sorpresa en sus ojos Eva lamento haber hecho esa pregunta lo justificó diciendo que estaba cansada y desvariaba. Perdiendo el equilibrio, la chica cayó repentinamente. Sobre su amado nunca pensó qué hacer en esa situación. Así que solo se disculpó y dijo que se levantaría, pero en ese instante Noel la abrazó con fuerza. Realmente sentía curiosidad. Quería saber todo sobre ella, cómo era Eva de niña, cuál era su comida favorita, qué pensamientos la rondaban. Tal vez había algo que prefería callar, así que el joven no iba a forzarla, pero pasara lo que pasara, los sentimientos de Noel por ella no cambiarían. Esto llevó a Eva a recordar cuando era pequeña le encantaba pasar tiempo con su padre. Hacían flores de hielo y jugaban. Su padre era humano, pero ella creía que podía controlar el hielo. No siempre le salía bien. A veces los hechizos fallaban y la nieve se derretía mientras contaba que estudió hierbas medicinales por su padre. Noel escuchaba tranquilo y sonreía hasta que se durmió, aunque Eva no pudo confesar que era mestiza. Su sonrisa parecía decir que la aceptaría fuera quien fuese. Julia Carat, con buen oído y amor por la lectura, encalla a la perfección. Ruby la eligió como sirvienta para su hermana y le ordenó a Phoenix que se lo comunicara a los sirvientes aquella noche. Sion entró somnoliento en la habitación para saber por qué la niña no dormía. Lo primero que notó Rachel fue que le habían salido orejas y con la aqua hace demasiado calor, así que se relajó, pero debe ocultarlos muy bien. De pronto Sion recordó a su hermana. Según Ruby ya está en sus aposentos. Ahora el niño tiene su propia habitación. Aunque siempre durmieron juntos, ahora tendrá que aprender a dormir solo. En realidad el niño también quería ser adulto. Tan fuerte y musculoso como su hermano, entonces tendrá que seguir las reglas. Primero no puede ir a la habitación de su hermana por la noche. Tras oír eso, a Sion le rodaron lágrimas por las mejillas. No puede dormir solo, le da miedo la oscuridad sabiéndolo. Ruby le dijo que fuera a su habitación que está enfrente. Cuando tenga miedo resulta que el chico es un cobarde. Ahí decía que protegería a su hermanita. A sus ojos es solo un bobo y aún así sabe escribir. A la mañana siguiente Eva se despertó cara a cara con el capitán del sur. Avergonzada saltó de la cama, pero Noel ya estaba despierto. Quería robar su tiempo por un rato. Por las mañanas parece que la temperatura sube. Como la chica se durmió ayer, tuvo que abrazarlo. Pero olvidó por completo que estaba en su cama. Abrazar a Eva es lo mejor y Noel lo dijo a todo pulmón. De pronto la puerta se abre de golpe. Una nueva sirvienta entra pidiendo disculpas por interrumpir. Con la esperanza de llevarse bien, la chica se presenta como Julia Carat, la nueva doncella. Como es un conejo, su oído es más agudo que el de otros. Seguro que la señorita le contó sobre esta peculiaridad. Hoy Julia conoce a su ama por primera vez, así que está un poco nerviosa. Por lo tanto, al escuchar su conversación, la chica imaginó una escena totalmente escandalosa. En cualquier caso, es un honor servir a Eva. Ahora por fin se conocen. Antes de irse, Noel le ofreció algo especial, pero la chica aún no se despierta, así que no tiene hambre. Julia estaba fascinada con esta dulce pareja. En poco tiempo la mesa estaba repleta de platos exquisitos. Cuesta creer que sea solo el desayuno. Y ni siquiera la comida le encantó a la protagonista tanto que quiso la receta. El balsamo que eligió Noel le pareció genial a Eva, era nuevo para ella, al oler el aroma mágico. Supo que el joven también usaba perfume. No es extraño que siempre huela tan bien, ¿verdad? Con esos pensamientos, Eva se sonrojó y dijo que hacía calor. En realidad recordaba la noche anterior. Al notarlo, Noel quiso saber más. La chica se le quedó grabada como alguien increíblemente dulce y encantadora, pero ella negó eso. Dijo que se refería a otra cosa, que solo le gustaba su aroma. Su hermano menor la rescató de la charla incomodación y rompió gritando. El pequeño estaba orgulloso, durmió solo. Afortunadamente no hubo desastres. Sion ya es todo un adulto y justo detrás de él, dos chicos agitados se rompieron en el comedor. Estos adorables chicos ahora son sus amigos. Apenas pudieron seguir el ritmo del veloz jovencito. Cuando Ruby entró corriendo en el salón jadeando, soltó un suspiro al ver lo rápido que corre el chico, o más bien ella es lenta y no puede seguirle el paso. Eva no podía ignorarla. Su niña también se estaba haciendo mayor. Rachel sentía que si su hermana no estaba cerca, tendría pesadillas, pero anoche sonó cosas hermosas. Esta esquina despreocupada calentó el corazón de Noel. Todos se divierten mucho desde que sus padres los dejaron. Es la primera vez que ve a Rachel sonreír así. Por esta calidez y amor que arraigó en el corazón de Rachel, Noel estaba agradecido con Eva y Sion. Esta chica hace felices a todos los que la rodean. Lo que Noel deseaba antes ya no le interesará. Él sueña con que Eva sea su esposa, la única que estará con él hasta el final. Su amor eterno. Justo cuando dudaba, el capitán sintió un contacto ajeno, el tacto de unas manos femeninas. La chica que lo envolvió en un velo de miedos y sospechas se atrevió a sugerir que Eva miente. Preso del pánico, el joven siguió, pero solo vio al sirviente de pie detrás de él. Lo atormentaba la sensación de que ya había escuchado esa voz en algún lugar. Después del banquete, la nueva sirvienta difundió rumores de que él podría haber muerto. Eso era exactamente lo que ella creía, que explicaba por qué el capitán sonreía tanto hoy, aunque algunos no lo creían. Ella aseguraba que él lo había hecho bastante bien. Inesperadamente, Julia presenció cómo la señora y el señor se abrazaban con fuerza. Esta mañana, como pensaba otra sirvienta, por mucha curiosidad que tuviera, no se deben escuchar esas cosas. Julia creía que era una buena noticia, pero la dama pensaba que todas las sirvientas como ella eran ingenuas. La jefa María no se imaginaba quién podría ser capaz de manejar así al capitán, y además recordó que una doncella no debe bajar a la cocina y que las chicas debían lavar los platos. Esto es realmente una tontería. Normalmente, Julia no es tan parlanchina como sobró demasiada comida. María pensó que los norteños eran demasiado exigentes. De repente le avisaron que la esperaban afuera. Hopper quería verla. Al verlo en la calle, la señora pensó que quería alabarla, y así era. A los invitados les encantó su comida, pero entonces Marie no entendió por qué no terminaron nada. Resultó que la chica estaba muy cansada estos últimos días, por eso no tiene apetito. Al saber que Milady quería ir a la cocina y aprender a cocinar, María pensó que tenía suerte. Mientras tanto, solo quedaba medio día de camino al palacio. Eso significa que muy pronto Edmond la encontrará a su Eva. Era un cálido y soleado mediodía. Noel seguía ocupadísimo. Sion está fascinado con sus nuevos amigos y a Rachel le gusta Eva más de lo esperado. La heroína temía que su encuentro fuese como en la novela, pero ahora solo le desea felicidad. La Caperucita Roja y la loba no tenían esa relación en el cuento. Quizás se hagan buenas amigas. El aroma de la cocina lo inunda todo. Según Julia, hoy habrá pavo para la cena. Eva esperaba que cada día fuese pacífico, pero en ese fatídico día de repente se encontró con alguien que marcó su infancia. Al ver a Edmond frente a ella, la joven comprendió que la vida pacífica era solo un sueño. Sintiendo su tacto, Eva se preguntó qué hacía allí, por qué estaba en el sur en ese instante. Una furiosa niña dragón se interpuso controlando el fuego. Le ordenó alejarse de su hermana. Esa es la mismísima hermana del jefe del sur, quien está persiguiendo. Edmond le parecía repugnante y ridículo que pensaran que él podría hacer entrar en razón a Eva. Mientras Rachel intentaba entender qué significaba eso, el capitán del norte se desvaneció y reapareció tras ella ante los ojos de todos. Ocurrió algo terrible. Una fuerza inaudita repelió a Rachel y la niña cayó muerta según Edmund, aunque sea un dragón aún es pequeño, lo que no implica su participación en la rebelión. Para calmar los temores de los presentes, dijo que la niña solo había perdido el conocimiento, no le hará daño. Pero lo que más impactó a Eva fue la propuesta de regresar, ya que en el sur es demasiado peligroso. Una desesperada Julia de repente agarró al capitán por el cuello y les gritó que huyeran de Ali. Con su acción obligó al asistente del capitán a empujarla, y la chica gritó por el impacto. Entonces Edmund ordenó al joven limpiar Ali mientras él pensaba en llevarse a Eva. En ese instante una furia inaudita se encendió en los ojos de la chica lobo, lista para matar a ese bastardo. Creyendo que habían engañado bien a Eva, el capitán le pidió que aguantara un poco, era hora de despedirse. En ese fatídico momento la loba enfurecida lo agarró del cuello diciendo que a ella nadie la engañaba. Mirando a los ojos hacia ese canal, a la chica rodeó su cuello con su magia de hielo pensando que era un ser sin alma. A wild torrent of absolute power surrounded them, exploding outward like a nuclear bomb. There was dust everywhere. The Southern captain's subordinates couldn't understand what had happened there. As the fog began to gradually dissipate, a perplexed Eva emerged from the clouds. With her own hands, she had created something amazing, but it's still not clear what had happened there. The Northern captain opened his eyes. Finding himself tied hand and foot in an unknown room, Eva wished to be alone with him and asked her subjects to leave, determined to clarify certain things. As for why everything had ended this way, the girl didn't even try to explain the situation to him. She used ice magic to kill him, but something stopped her. To be exact, Ed's ability. Apparently the heroine had encountered something similar before. Now that everything is over, that no longer matters. The first thing is to deal with him. It's the first time they've spoken like this. Normally, Eva would run away from him. When she decided to find out why Ed was chasing or hating her, he stated that wasn't the case. He sincerely apologized for what he did when they were children. He understands why the girl accuses him. Edmund just wanted her to give him a chance, but Eva doesn't want him. It's no use to her, even if every wolf begs for her forgiveness. She won't return to the north because for her it's hell. Because Eva is a half-breed, no one looked for her missing father, and her mother gave birth without a doctor. Without losing hope of winning her back, Ed swore to find her aggressors and bring them before her, undoubtedly including himself. Now he is willing to do anything for that she-wolf. Eva's brother didn't remember their parents, so he used to ask if they had been abandoned. The girl would say they were eagerly awaiting their arrival, but they had to go far away for work. And Sion only needs to sleep 1,000 nights, after which they will return. But since then, he stopped asking about their parents. Eva thought he was counting the nights, but it wasn't like that. Sion understood they were no longer in this world. It caused Eva great pain, since Edmund is willing to do anything for the girl she proposed, that he save her parents. The only thing she wanted was for her brother to be able to see them. After hearing that Ed was speechless, he was sorry, but it was too late. Not telling this to apologize, Eva begged the captain not to approach her and to forget her. If Ed is even a little bit sorry, he must forever erase the half-breed she-wolf from his mind. With a heavy heart, the heroine left the room when she suddenly saw Rachel on the street. She couldn't believe the little one had woken up and bombarded her with questions about how she felt. Surprisingly, Rachel was laconic. She said she was fine. At that moment, a heartbreaking female scream was heard. Julia almost went crazy. Upon learning that the lady stayed with the wolf, the maid wanted to know if he had hurt her, but Eva asked her to stop bothering her. Just a moment later, the heroine wanted to talk to her sister again, but she had disappeared without a trace. Everything was quickly resolved, but upon receiving the terrible news, the dragons erupted in fury. They had a powerful reason to raise the north, but Rachel stopped them in their tracks. Ed disappeared before they could find him, leaving only a handwritten apology letter. Eva no longer wants to get involved now that everything is resolved, but she doesn't understand why Rachel stopped them. She contacted the girl to ask and confirm that her secret was safe, but she was acting strange. In the hallway, the lady ran into Julia. The maid had recovered and decided to return to work lately. That little one visits them frequently, and she feeds him in secret. Maybe he's a beastman, but the maid doesn't know how to talk to him. And if he is, he's very young. She begged her not to tell anyone anything, as she feared she would be kicked out immediately then. Eva assumed the young woman was tired of her daily routine or that she missed her family. Suddenly, Julia shot off and ran somewhere. Asking the lady to wait a moment later, she returned with provisions. And she brought with her an especially expensive wine. According to her, when you have too many thoughts, you can forget. And alcohol is the best thing for that night. While investigating the scene, Noel found no trace, any of magic, but he heard that Eva subdued the Northern Chief, although it's known that it's hard for a half-breed to face a pure-blooded wolf. Besides, not a single trace of magic was left, as if it had completely vanished, even though her father was human. Eva can use ice magic, although sometimes she's not that good at it upon realizing something. The Southern captain ordered Hopper to prepare a secret letter. As the recipient, the Lord chose the King of Humans. Upon returning, Noel suddenly heard urgent news about his beloved a while ago that same afternoon. The girls chose a good place to meet. Suddenly, Eva blurted out the question, what would Julia do if she knew she was going to be killed? It's a serious question in that situation. Anyone would hide, I suppose, but this crazy girl personally would try to fight tooth and nail. She believes that running from fate solves nothing because she knows what's going to happen. Julia would prefer to look fate in the face so as not to have regrets. Although, of course, instead of going head-on, she could try to attack by surprise and flee. After those words, Eva drank the glass of wine in one gulp, something unusual. The maid helped her, but the protagonist couldn't stop thinking about how to avoid fate. She doesn't know what would happen to Noel and Rachel if she and Sion left. The two of them would face the tragedy from the book Eva. Thinking that this is not the best of endings, she wants a better future for them that night. The girls didn't expect to see Maria, who was still wondering where the wine went. Seeing how Julia was doing, Eva commented that the aroma of the wine was simply exquisite. Since the lady knows how to drink, Maria offered her a better drink and some suitable appetizers. That's how it was discovered that Captain Ramirez's companion was very drunk under the influence of alcohol. She told a story where she fell in love with someone who turned out to be her brother lost 10 years ago. Besides, the girl asked her subjects to call her by her name when they drank, since they are all friends. Eva was so absorbed in the fun and drinking that she barely noticed Noel's arrival, wanting to know who had gotten her so drunk. The Lord received as an answer only an invitation to have a drink. According to Maria, the lady liked the wine they prepared, so they gladly invited her to try it. The servants struggled to prevent her from drinking too much, but everything got out of control, stating that drinking a lot is bad for your health. Noel snatched the pitcher from her and held her by the arms. Eva felt so much heat that she melted instantly against his chest. It had been so long since she had a drink that the alcohol seemed incredibly sweet to her. Thinking it was time to sleep, the girl transformed into a wolf in front of everyone. The servants were stunned, but Noel promised to explain what they had seen later. He also warned that if anyone told before he did, they would pay with their head. Through her clouded consciousness, Eva thought she was in the grass, but Noel laughed, saying they were in the bedroom. If it was him, the girl calmed down immediately now. Everything is fine because he is her husband, even though she knew he wasn't real. Because she kept lying, maybe their relationship would be different if she hadn't lied. The idea prompted her to confess her big secret yearning. To reveal it before dropping the bomb that would surprise Noel, she asked him to come closer the next morning. She woke up in the captain's room with no memories. Seeing her awake, the Lord offered her an excellent tea for her hangover. Noel looked so tired that Eva feared she had done something terrible last night, but she remembers nothing. Her memories simply vanished, since Noel was acting normal. She thought his fatigue had nothing to do with her. When asking for more tea, she was so clumsy that she accidentally knocked over the full kettle. Worried, Eva touched the captain, but he pulled his hand away abruptly, after saying he was just surprised. The Lord left to ask a maid to change the sheet on top of that today. He won't be able to have lunch with her because of a meeting. Everything points to him avoiding Eva after that for a week, not just talking. But even briefly, crossing paths with Noel was almost impossible. She had already gotten used to the South. Or rather, the beastmen of the South had gotten used to her, judging by their expressions. It was clear that they hardly had discovered her true identity. Wanting to know why Noel was avoiding her, Eva decided to ask the maid what had happened that day. With a stunned face, Julia tried to assure her that nothing had happened. Absolutely nothing at all. And although the girl kept changing the subject, Eva ordered her to spill the whole truth at once. A week earlier, the night before Eva woke up, Rachel found out that her little sister's identity had been discovered. They weren't feigning ignorance. They were waiting for her to tell them everything herself. From the beginning, they didn't care that Eva was a wolf because she saved Rachel and Noel and supported them, but because of the dragon's position in society, no one would dare speak against her, so they just waited until that night, when suddenly a message from Hopper appeared, addressed to everyone living in the castle. To those who knew about the true nature of the captain's companion, revealed that night he ordered them to be quiet, and also those who saw it with their own eyes, to remain silent until the lady told the truth. Whoever broke the order must be prepared to face the consequences. Among the castle's inhabitants, rumors were spreading. They feared the lady would get enraged like a wolf and attack. However, Julia assured that the lady was not born this way by choice. What's more, she rejected the chief of the North. For the maid, Lady Eva is simply Lady Eva Carmel also supported her. As he had never seen the chief happier, the beastmen changed their minds upon seeing many advantages in this union. Hopper expected a lot of negativity, but everyone is crazy about the lady, so he proposed to keep their mouths shut. Until she opens her heart to them completely, the dragon's companion is a wolf. Very valuable information for a common cat. Initially, Noel planned to take the girl to the room he shares with Sion, but then she grew ears, so the decision was already made. Before closing her eyes, Eva called her captain. Her companion, of course, he didn't pay much attention to those words, but Noel almost burned with embarrassment that night. She decided to lift the veil of mystery a little and tell her biggest secret under the influence of alcohol. Her caution disappeared completely. As soon as Noel thought of calming her down, Eva clung to him with her lips. The truth is, she just wanted to give him a goodnight kiss after that day. In every encounter with Eva, uncontrollable emotions invaded him. He can't allow it, not knowing if he might harm her, so he decided to distance himself. But soon news reached him that the determined young lady wanted to talk. She knew Noel was busy, but she felt they had to talk no matter what. Eva hinted that he was avoiding her, but the captain assured her there was no such thing. The girl decided to ask directly if she had overstepped that night she drank. She has hazy memories, but she was sure Noel wouldn't do the same to her, begging that it not be a slap. The wolf asked the Lord to change his anger to mercy. It seems even she doesn't know what she's talking about. She arrives at the office and asks for the same to be done to her at that moment. Noel heard a voice in his head, ordering him to catch and eat the girl. The voice told him to stop, acting like a noble knight to devour her whole without a trace, suddenly getting up abruptly from the table. The Lord asked the young woman to return to her chambers. It's so hard for him to speak, so Eva deduces that something is deeply tormenting him as soon as she touched him, thinking he had a fever. The enraged captain burst into a rage. An unprecedented fury was reflected in his eyes, his face twisted into a savage grimace. Realizing what was happening, Noel apologized and ran out to get some fresh air soon. The news that the dragon's companion was a wolf reached the ears of the chief of the West, Ryan Miller, knowing the matter was related to that dragon. The maid was the first to inform him as an inhabitant of the West. Mia, of course, must tell the chief what she heard. She assured that the probability of the information being unreliable was extremely low, however, for greater certainty. Mia was going to travel to the south and obtain irrefutable proof. She promised to get proof that upon seeing it, even Ryan would have no choice but to believe. By accepting that Mia would do everything her way this time, the chief felt it would be very interesting. Soon the cat girl finally arrived in the south. The view was simply fascinating. The time has come for her to act. Finally, and earn a lot of money today. She has been wandering around for so long, but the captain's companion still hasn't appeared. The girl found out that the dragons planted many apple trees. They care a lot about these things. A boy distracted her from her thoughts, attracted by the kitten's cute appearance. Mia recognized him as the companion's younger brother. A hunter as cunning as a wolf, she suddenly decided that if she coaxed him, he would take her to Eva, so she took action by saying she had melted. Sion seemed to have no idea what cats were catching the poor creature in his arms. The boy was determined to save her at all costs. Upon seeing that her brother had brought a kitten into the room, Eva ordered him to take it back to the garden. Mia didn't believe that finding the southern captain's companion would be so simple after thanking the little wolf brother. She was curious about what the lady was reading. It turned out Eva was reading dragon legends, so there's a reason she wants to understand them. Mia supposed that this was somehow related to that conversation between Eva and the maiden. The situation with the subordinates and the Northern Brothers seems more convoluted than she thought. The more complex the information, the more valuable it becomes with the intention of getting closer to the lady. The cat girl planned to gain even more of her trust. If she intends to get closer, she must first share what she has the ruler of the East who sees the truth through everything, is a mermaid. Mia knows that the main virtue of a merchant is to instantly understand the needs of their clients. God wished for the earth to remain clean and without a single drop of a lie. That's why mermaids who can both walk on land and swim in the sea are given eyes that penetrate the essence. When a fallen mermaid abused her eyes, God gave a merman a trident so he could finish her. God made a stern warning if anyone decided to abuse the granted eyes, the gift would be withdrawn. And as his representative, God placed a blonde merman who punished the mermaid in the position of Chief of the East. Even in the original story, it was said that the only one who prevented Rachel from destroying the North was the leader of the mermaids. Aware that the truth about her essence would attract problems, Eva knew it would eventually be revealed after that conversation. The leader of the South has been in a deplorable state for days. Suddenly the Lord remembered that Hopper had said he had a good relationship with his wife. Noel decided to find out if he was uncomfortable because he was becoming impulsive when thinking about her, as if he were obsessed. He wanted to know if Hopper also kept hearing the unknown voice. All of this is so strange. That Noel decided to take a walk outside to clear his head. He wanted to make sure Hopper remembered what to do if he suddenly experienced a power surge. In reality, the servant remembers everything he couldn't forget his words that night. Eva also decided to take a walk in the garden. When she suddenly ran into Noel, they hadn't seen each other for a long time. They had barely crossed paths since he left that day. Still, the girl was happy to see him in front of her, so she plucked up the courage to ask him how his day was. She just wanted to spend a little more time with him than usual. However, it's already late, so Noel proposed to talk tomorrow if she wanted to tell him something. Barely holding back her tears, Eva tried to understand why he kept distancing himself without even bothering to look her in the eyes. The captain assured her that she was not to blame for anything angry. The girl told him to speak while looking her in the eyes, which made Noel blush instantly. With just one touch, it was clear his body was burning incredibly. Eva was horrified that he hadn't. Called her with such a high fever, his whole body is burning, a single touch won't be enough. The heroine apologized first. The more she touches, the more effective her magic will be. She begged the captain to stay still until the heat dissipated their burning. Gazes met for the first time in a long time. It was as if a magnet was drawing them. Eva's delicate white skin, her fine features, her sweet lips and beautiful eyes. Everything attracted Noel. He is so dizzy that he is not aware of his actions. The situation overwhelms him. It's already very late, so the captain asked the girl to return to her. Chambers the heroine until the last moment hoped he would kiss her. Noel simply can't do something like that, but in that instant she longed for it, face, ears, hands. Every part that touched Noel burns, as if it were burned. After thinking it over, Eva wondered if she had experienced something like this when touching him before the heat would vanish instantly, thanks to her ice magic. All this led her to think that a power outburst was coming. She remembers that in the original work, Noel's power exploded on the day of Rachel's inheritance ceremony. Perhaps because of Eva, everything accelerated. But she is just a secondary character. When Noel finds his partner, she will have to leave and disappear from everyone's memory. By trying to stay by his side, she stopped being a simple secondary character. Sion saw his sister in the hallway and called her to sleep. But she was going to check out a place she was traveling east to ask something of the mermaids who live there. Sion knew it was dangerous and didn't understand why she was leaving, so he wanted to go too. Eva calmed him down, saying she would be back soon, when suddenly someone said they should take him with them. According to Mia, it's unknown how long it will take them to get there, so her younger brother will be left alone. Upon seeing that strange unknown woman, Eva called Sion. Not knowing they had spent the whole day together, it turns out she is that cat girl who has been around for a long time, hanging around the mansion, the only cat in the world capable of taking them both to the east. There is a client curious about Eva's story, and the merchant's duty is to satisfy the client. Mia asked them to consider her a means of transport, and it would be great if they paid for the expenses. Not knowing if this person could be trusted, as Eva thought it's better than traveling alone, it seemed urgent to the cat girl. But from the wolf girl's face, it doesn't seem so. It's true, Eva is in no position to question this method at all, since they'll be together for a while. She insisted she needed to know how to address this lady. The girl introduced herself as Mia Toon and asked to be called simply Mia. The heroine never wanted to be a companion, so she hoped not to negatively influence Noel. But if that were to suddenly happen, she would be forced to leave him at night. Rachel shot up with tears in her eyes after another nightmare, begging for it to end once and for all. The girl felt she had suffered enough. She didn't want to be left alone. So she decided to wake up her sister and brother, but the room was empty the next morning. Word got out about the disappearance of Eva and Sion. The entire mansion was in an uproar. They accused Julia of not staying close to Eva, and that after that, she could not call herself her personal maid. Feeling her guilt, she was willing to accept any punishment, as she should have been by her mistress's side during the girl's disappearance. Noel also blamed himself, thinking it was all because of his greed. Because of his impulsive actions, Eva could barely breathe normally. It was obvious she got scared seeing his brief madness and wanted to run away. Now the captain understood he should have waited for her to tell him everything, but he couldn't hold back. Upon seeing his desperate brother, Rachel decided to take matters into her own hands and release the fire phoenix. Without a moment's hesitation, she ordered the bird to find the owner of that ring, maybe because it is a port city. The sun beats down hard in the east, however. As soon as the heroine looked down, she didn't see a single drop of water. Mistaking Mia for a scammer, she attacked her with accusations, refusing to listen to anything. But what Mia was desperately trying to explain was that the ocean is closed now. The leader of the mermaids has blocked the castle gates for years, so it's impossible to enter legally. According to Mia, the big market is in the West information flows where there are people, and the West has a more developed commercial area than any other region. Information is abundant here. Specifically, her colleague, a major information dealer, knows how to get into the mermaid's castle. The protagonist trusted her one last time. So they came to Shiva. Mia's colleague Eva first told him that she had come to go to the east to the mermaids. This cat brought her here. She said that Mr. Shiva knows the way, knowing that the mermaid's castle does not accept strangers. The girl needs to go no matter what. Since she is an acquaintance of Mia's, Shiva asked no more questions about it. It turns out mermaids love beautiful things, especially expensive jewelry. The mermaids have several factions. For something valuable, someone will surely give a hint, according to the gentleman getting a gem that a mermaid likes. Getting a gem a mermaid likes is no easy task. Eva has nothing but money, so she wants to get to the jewelry store quickly. With that money, she was able to see all the magic crystals available in the shop. Wondering if the mermaids would like them, Mia believed the important thing was their beauty. As soon as Eva finished shopping, a strange gentleman suddenly entered. He wanted to buy a magic crystal of any kind and asked to see everything they had. But he was stunned to learn that all the magic crystals had already been purchased. It seems to be urgent because he needs at least one right this instant. On second thought, Eva doesn't need magic crystals, but precious gems. She was going to buy them just because they were pretty, but she decided to give them to the gentleman. The young man couldn't contain his happiness, hearing that he will never forget such kindness. Still, they must leave, but Mia insisted on buying a couple of crystals just in case. Addressing the owner, the gentleman requested that all the magic crystals be packed for him. The strange thing is how everyone reacts to seeing his face, both the girl and her very soul, in gratitude for taking care of Sion. Eva wished to return that kindness. They must leave for the east right now, but Sion begged to stay a little longer. It turns out the boy from the shop told him that where his sister is heading, there is a lot of water, which is natural. Since that place is inhabited by mermaids, apparently this little rascal is afraid of water and was following his sister only out of concern. Although he says it a bit late, Shiva thought it would be better if the boy didn't follow her. Mermaids love pure souls, and Sion's impeccable soul is perfect for someone to covet. If a mermaid likes something, she will take it by force, no matter what it costs. Since there's no one to look after the child right now, Shiva has volunteered upon hearing this. Eva couldn't cause him any more trouble than she already had. When they were alone, Sion said that dirt flowed like water. He is the first child who doesn't cry upon seeing Shiva's face. The boy had never seen sand. It's his first time here, and many things seem amazing to him. What impressed him the most was the huge river and the warm wind, and also the amazing color of Shiva's eyes. Zion's eyes are blue. But in his whole palette of colours came together, violet, blue and yellow mixed together. Shiva's eyes looked like a precious stone to him. For the first time, someone was looking him directly in the eyes. According to Mia, her partner has always been very emotional, but he is someone you can trust. Upon hearing that his sister agreed to leave him there and would be back soon, Sion became incredibly happy. Seeing the joy in his eyes, Eva still couldn't believe he was so afraid of water. It was time to leave her brother in Shiva's care. The girl promised to return soon. When the girls finished packing the luggage, Eva noticed that Mia was eating something. It's the instinct of reincarnation, a new product currently in development. She's not really an addict or anything like that. She can simply achieve a lot this way. Mia even suggested that the girl give the herb to the beastmen. And not to say that she has no friends, it's time to get going. The cat girl ran towards the mermaids to find out why Eva has no friends lately. Sion has been tormented by a question: why his cafe is called Bad Cat. The boy believed that Shiva was good, although the gentleman didn't give much meaning to that word. The most surprising thing is that Sion knows how to read. They are letters from the human world. Shiva made that sign because he liked the way it looked. Plain and simple in the world of the beastmen, few know the human alphabet. So the man used it as a code. And more importantly, in the human world, writing is not only for the elite, just as the beastman decides to find out the boy's last name. A strong wind suddenly blows, a devastating hurricane breaks out, and the boy gets a chance to grab a hand appearing out of nowhere. The brave Rachel squeezes her brother's hand and pulls him towards her, overcoming her furious agony. She really wanted to know what Sion was doing there. The girl was furious because her siblings came here without saying a single word. She squeezed Sion's hand so furiously that it hurt him. She couldn't believe that Eva had gone east to the human world. The terrified boy didn't want to look for his sister. He was terrified of the water. If that's all it is, Ruby was ready to dry it to the last drop just by wishing for it. And all Sion had to do in this situation was stay by her side when he decided to go to the east. Shiva reminded him that his sister promised to look after him. He was convinced that it was not a place for children to go. He wanted to ask the girl to stay, but he didn't anticipate that she was a red dragon, a representative of a race known for its pride. He bowed his head, remembering the annoying Mia Shiver didn't understand what amazing people she worked with at that moment. The Southern captain ran into the one who had ignored his previous letters. Now the one who had even refused requests for an audience is seeking a meeting with Noel. On top of that, he didn't come in person. He sent his trusted man. His Majesty is busy. But Noel sensed it was a crucial matter. With no room for discussion, he decided to find out what that guy thought about it. According to the messenger, the documents sent by the Southern captain were reviewed, but His Majesty ruled that he cannot accept it. It seems like a low blow, although it is very likely there is no need to verify. Let's hope there is no more of this. Noel was just amused that His Majesty never changes his mind. He asked the messenger to convey that on his part, there will be no changes. Either Captain Ramirez wasted his time in this meeting, but perhaps it is for the best. If His Majesty is so stubborn, it is better that he does not know about this girl. It would cause Eva pain. Thinking of her, the first thing is that she deserved to hear words of forgiveness. Noel must apologize for scaring her and beg her to stay by his side. Eva is a good person, so maybe she will come back. And the captain will fill her only with pleasures, so she never feels sadness in this place. So she stays here for years. But Noel's dark side pushes him to consume her, so she will be his forever upon arriving at the East Coast. Ava was met with abominable treatment. As expected, access to the sea is forbidden to outsiders. It is the chief's order again, the young girl who knows nothing, who they urge to simply give up. After everything that happened, the girl became desperate at this rate. They will achieve nothing without knowing how much time is left. Eva wanted to stop Noel's power outburst as soon as possible, and thinking about it, she suddenly noticed a cat landing nearby, transforming into a human. The wanderer supposed the girl came to see Mrs. Lan from her face. Eva does not know that name. She arrived like everyone else after hearing an insignificant rumour, and of course if she knew how everything works, she would not make such a scene in front of the entrance. The stranger warned that Mrs. Lan cannot be named just like that. It seems the girl is looking for a conclusive answer. Wow, she is armed to the teeth besides. It is the first time the young man sees a beastman treated like a pet. It does not matter who this girl is. You just have to know that before Mrs. Lan, everyone is equal with a bad feeling. Mia suggested they not follow him. Maybe Eva will find the answer she is looking for, so she proposed following him. The entrance to the other world was in a deep river in the forest. They stopped on the bank. First, the heroine must drink purifying water only by cleansing body and mind. Will she enter the sea? Although she worries about the origin of the liquid. She has no time to hesitate after drinking that horrible-tasting water. The girl did a good job. And now, the time came to meet Mrs. Leng, unable to breathe underwater. Eva thought she would die, but a stranger calmed her down. For her, who passed the purification, the sea opened its arms. Then it became clear that she was a mermaid. The heroine felt the power of the purifying water and could start to breathe little by little the adaptogen for land dwellers that you drank before. Also allows you to breathe underwater. It is time to go to Mrs. Lan's mansion, so the mermaid ordered them to follow her. A completely different world full of aquatic creatures and underwater vegetation. What a feeling. At first glance, Mrs. Lan's mansion looked more like a temple than a simple residence inside. Miss Charlie reported that 2 companions had arrived to listen to Mrs. Lan. The sermon is about to begin, so they invited Eva to the main hall. There is such silence that she is unable to say a word. It feels as if they were not underwater when Eva finally reached the main hall. She could enter and take a seat wherever she wanted. In that instant, she had the feeling she was in an organization. Religious, but the most surprising thing happened when Mrs. Lan made her entrance. Everyone longed for a glance from the lady, but the protagonist found it strange, the beautiful redhead greeting her faithful. It is the very same Lady Lang, but among them there is an unknown girl, and now escaping will be complicated. Not understanding the adoration for Leng, Eva timidly welcomed her, pretending to be a believer. She said she had travelled from the north to see Leng. Now seeing her in person, no word could describe her beauty. The lady suspected the girl had not come just to admire her physique. She was intrigued by what that young woman wanted. Stooping to lie to impress, it was obvious that Eva was looking for Henry. Many approached her because of the boy, but Leng did not expect her to have no idea who he was. In that case, she agreed to listen to the story of the she-wolf. During the investigation, meanwhile, the young master was reprimanded for thinking that the number of stones was enough according to his father. He still does not understand that the future of the East depends on his power. The young man was ordered to leave there and move heaven and earth to gather all the magic crystals. With each passing day, the father grows weaker. So the young man must gather the magic crystals. If that girl he recently met had not given in, he would not have gotten away with a simple scolding. Besides, it had been a long time since the young master had met someone who was not captivated by his appearance. After meeting that creature, this really happened for the first time unexpectedly. A talking cat stuck to him and ordered him to hurry. It turned out that somehow a land creature had infiltrated their sea. Desperate, the cat girl claimed they met in the West and that her friend was captured by some fanatics. By pure luck, the little cat managed to escape. They took her things, and she has no one to turn to for help upon hearing the boy being called young master. She thought he must have a very high position only by knowing how the land creatures ended up in this situation. The young man will be able to find a solution. It seems this cat escaped from the Sion residence one less headache. But it will be difficult for the young master to rescue the girl right now, since going there empty-handed would be practically suicide. And if he brought soldiers, there would be a possibility of an armed conflict breaking out. It had been a long time since the future leader had seen the chief. It had been a long time since they had met for the first time. There is someone he needs to find urgently. That is why Noel Ramirez was begging for so much cooperation. Finally, Eva woke up tied hand and foot. Mrs. Leng bombarded her with questions. How strange to hear questions from the one who knocked her out. Before, the talkative she-wolf would not shut up, but now she is mute as a fish. Leng does not like silence. First, she decided to introduce herself as Aria. She does not usually reveal her real name. The boy behind is Charles. Unfortunately, the bonds are impossible to untie. Aria invested a lot of energy in tying up the girl. Ava did not understand why they tied her up, so she did not waste her strength in vain. As for the gems, Aria did not touch them. She is not so shameless as to steal them. Besides, it is not telepathy, she simply hears and sees others' thoughts. And in Eva's case, all her thoughts can be read on her face. Finding out why she came would be boring. That is why Aria decided to ask questions and give some advice, knowing what the heroine is like. She remained silent, and the lady had given her a chance. It can't be helped. Aria was trying to be kind, but it seems she will have to extract the memories. Apologizing for the lack of tact, she put her hand on the girl's head to read all her memories. Finally, she knew what Eva's life had been like. She did not have time to get bored, but upon seeing something strange, the lady abruptly withdrew her hands and was thrown back. She could not understand what the half-naked girl was sitting on, nor why she was telling him she was his master, and what she was doing with his leg. Whether she liked that man or hated him, there are so many obscene images in Eva's head. But Aria will not deal with her again, wanting to know where the girl had learned that the lady ordered her to answer immediately. Eva could not believe the mermaid wanted to kill her, accusing her of having scandalized her. She still does not know how to stop the course of history. She abandoned Rachel, and Sion is still in the West. If only the protagonist knew her end would be like this. She would have tried to advance more in her relationship with Noel. These incredible images shocked Aria. They are like from another world. In all this time, she has read the minds of many people, but she never saw anything like this. Apparently, they have similar tastes. Like a frog in a well, the lady almost lived her life without knowing such a thing existed if the situation were different. They could be all night talking about role-playing games, but it is better this way if she tries to get closer to Aria. Maybe Eva can free herself. Thinking about what she saw, the lady considers it great luck to be a mermaid. She is a fallen mermaid. She uses her power to beautify people and make them jump into the sea. Aria was sure the girl only knew the old legend from a book. Although she uses her abilities a little, she believes there is nothing wrong with it. Even after the truth, there will be no punishment. Only very interesting things happen since the she-wolf shared valuable information. Aria will tell her family's story. About the red-haired mermaid, after the victory of mermen and mermaids in the conflict, the mermaids were forced to hide the mermaid. Red-haired, not even the mermaids themselves accepted her because of the legend that she tried to kill the first leader. Everyone takes the matter very seriously. According to the legend, they must walk with their heads bowed. Aria's mother considered herself a sinner until the end and ordered her daughter to live a life of atonement. Although the girl felt offended, there was nothing to be done. Her family had to live like that in the end. The only thing her mother got was a lonely death. Aria didn't like her lifestyle, so she decided to earn money first. They say that mermaids play with souls controlling people's minds, but she didn't want to do something so boring. Knowing that souls don't bring money when she was caught on the fisherman's hook, Aria told him that his heart was full of sadness. He pretends everything is fine, but inside he's rotting and falling apart. His wounds hurt. The mermaid wasn't going to harm the fisherman. She just wanted to calm the sadness inside him. She knows the feeling of forgetting reality while staring at the seacoast. Although the girl was a mermaid, she freed the fisherman and told him to be careful with the water, but he couldn't let her go. The man didn't understand why she hadn't harmed him, And on the contrary, she even opened his eyes. It seemed he was waiting for an answer, praying to God, but he remained silent, although Arya can also tell him the words he needs. The fisherman waited for an answer, but it never came, so he decided to call the mermaid a goddess. Then everything was easy. Those who heard the rumor asked Arya for advice, offering anything in return. She just had to read their memories and show them a little compassion. Thus, the number of believers grew uncontrollably, and the amount of money increased. There is something valuable even in the most insignificant soul. By obtaining it all, you can seize everything. That's why the lady doesn't regret being born a mermaid. The naive mermaids can't dream of this life as they are unable to see such stories. Ava declared that she could tell other stories because normally those who delve into this topic have a lot of questions, but Serene doesn't need that. Instead of listening, she prefers to enter their mind and see it all herself. According to her, it will be like a normal dream, although the lady cannot know when the girl will wake up. The protagonist thought desperately that she would have the chance to see Noel's face before they parted. Surprisingly, today the sea is particularly restless. It bubbles in a mysterious way. Seeing this, the man immediately told his son to go home even though they hadn't caught anything. It's known by everyone that the sea is the expression of the mermaid's emotions. Nobody knows what happened, but evidently there are problems in the sea. An army of fighters invaded the underwater world, demanding that the haughty mermaids simply surrender. His Highness supposed that the captain's companion might have entered the sea and been captured by the mermaids. He brought as many soldiers as he could, but the mermaid community is closed off, and their troops are particularly fearsome. Noel believes that if the enemy barricades themselves, the only thing left is to take away their hiding place. The absolute power of the southern captain devours everything, even the sea. It is the strength of the red dragon. Even such a powerful and cruel beast has a companion, assuming the future leader wants to kick him out. Noel reminded him that he didn't focus on closing off the sea. The young leader's father was opposed to the red dragon's reincarnation taking his place. Just as he burned his parents alive, he is capable of drying up the eastern sea to the last drop. But in the end, the red dragon became the leader and the Lord broke ties with all regions. They say the first red dragon ruled with love, not with force, but they feared his reincarnation upon seeing him in person. The young lord seems to be starting to understand his father. It won't be long before his power explodes. When it's unleashed, it will destroy everything in its path. Seeing this as the reason why the southern chief is forbidden to go east, the future chief no longer wants to be near. He doesn't understand why even with a companion Noel is in this state, and he also wonders why the colors of the red dragon's soul have become corrupted, according to the assistant. That girl was locked in a prison, and then they moved her somewhere. At that moment, the earth trembled and everything collapsed. And everyone thought the southern captain had caused an explosion, but in reality the power of the mermaids emanates from that wave. As if in shock from the wave, the butler suddenly grabbed his head and lost consciousness. Upon waking up, Eva didn't understand where she was. The truth is that in the butler's body there is another soul. Meanwhile, just by seeing her reflection, the lady couldn't believe she was seeing Charlie, realizing it wasn't her body. Arya understood that the souls had been swapped. Suddenly, the young master ordered to capture all the mermaids present, just as Arya was trying to enter the boy's body. She collided with the mermaid's power, all the souls got mixed up, and because of the explosion, the lady can no longer hear thoughts. Amidst the grim crowd and the horror, a boy was crying, looking for Ruby in a panic. And although it's dangerous, he came to look for his older sister. He entered the sea with Ruby, but a huge whirlpool suddenly separated them. The little one burst into tears just thinking that Ruby had promised to protect him, unable to bear it. Arya proposed to look for Ruby together and find a safe place. She is a little injured, but she promised to find out where the girl is after she recovers. At that moment, a sea trident passed so close that the lady barely protected the boy. Renee, commander of the Triton army, ordered the mermaid to get away from the boy and to surrender without resisting. In his eyes, he had never seen a more stupid creature. The mermaid was a real disgrace to the mermen. The young woman couldn't understand how he dared to behave with such arrogance. When he himself had attacked guys like him, always treat those who remain silent on the sidelines as sinners. As if possessed, the girl decided to act as he wished for once and become the mermaid of his imagination. At that instant, a strange energy surrounded the battlefield, and a girl appeared with her face hidden behind a red cape. Arya would recognize who was in front of her, even without using her special abilities. It was the form of the red dragon. The out-of-control girl ordered them to take their hands off Sion. Apparently, they don't know who they are trying to touch, so Ruby was about to punish them properly, but upon seeing little Sion with those disoriented eyes, the fury in her heart was extinguished instantly. Extending her hand, the girl told him they should find his sister. As soon as possible, Ruby noticed Sion's fear. She had unintentionally released her power again, and she knew they feared her. She was afraid her brother was scared of her. but the boy thought she was amazing. At that moment, Rachel felt terrible she didn't want him to look at her because she believed her face was horrible. Sion, on the other hand, thought she was the most beautiful in the world. Ruby always protected him with her magic. She hugged him with her warm hands when he felt cold. And although he was taught not to talk about others' appearance, he wanted to tell her that Ruby was always the most beautiful, believing that those things are only said to those you like. The girl fled in a panic. Then Arya decided to take the opportunity to recover her body, but once again, she had no luck. And she ended up in the body of that locked-up boy. The lady, aware of her situation, longed to get her body back as soon as possible. At that moment, a male voice resounded. The Southern captain in tears broke into the cell. Meanwhile, upon seeing Mia in the cat's body, the butler assumed she had been captured again upon returning. Believing the old man was crazy, the cat scratched him and skillfully escaped from his hands. It was then that Eva, inside, the butler understood that this was not her body. Thanks to her peculiar soul, the young master recognized in her the person he crossed paths with in the West. That girl was the friend the cat was looking for. Her soul resembles the boy who was by her side. Suddenly, another explosion shook the place. The Southern Chief's power is gradually intensifying. According to the young master, Noel came in search of his companion, but now is not the time to talk about that. It's hard to believe that the Southern Chief is unable to control his power at this moment. Eva understood that if they were trapped in the epicenter of the Manhwa explosion, everything would be over. She decided to intervene at all costs. Although the future leader warned her of the danger in reality, the one in danger now is Noel. So Eva doesn't plan on just standing here. Before leaving, she told the Lord to take Mia and wait outside. Then it became evident. The soul connected to the Southern Chief was that girl. Those two souls are attracted to each other upon seeing the fearsome dragon chief and hearing he wanted to talk. Arya didn't understand what she was doing there. All he wanted was to explain himself, just to have one chance. He apologized for having scared the girl before by simply being impatient, just so that Eva wouldn't abandon him. He swore to never again do anything she didn't like. At that instant, memories of the red dragon flooded Arya's mind in a chaotic whirlwind. She knew the Southern Chief had a companion, but she didn't think it was the owner of this body. The feelings directed at her are something like the desire to taste a delicious dish. No matter what happens now, Arya decided to run from him. To escape the clutches of this monster, Eva's lifeless body fell into the dragon's arms. Panicked, Noel didn't understand anything. Worried about her condition, he decided to find out if something was bothering her, or if she was in pain. Feeling his beastly heat, the girl opened her eyes. Realizing she was in Noel's arms, Arya dared to touch the dragon's companion. Not knowing if she herself knew everything, thinking that no one could bear such a desire, she suddenly felt someone grab her. From Henry's face, it was clear that something had happened, and they needed to escape quickly. Eva was sure she had fled in another body, and only thought about wanting to be in her own first, checking on Noel. She felt his temperature stabilizing. The captain justified his insistent touches, saying he was afraid she would get hurt when she fell. When he thought her request was too much, the protagonist didn't understand what he was talking about for Noel. It's enough. That it lasts only a short time. He dreams that Eva stays a little longer. To be honest, it's not complicated for her to help him at all. On the contrary, Eva came to try to help him, and in the end made everyone worry her magic couldn't lower the dragon's fever. So she wanted to find another way to do it. She left without saying anything because she thought it wouldn't take long if she were a true companion. She would solve this problem easily. But for Noel, it's not that simple. The heat often overcomes him. When he has trouble controlling his emotions, the Southern Chief imagines something that would be very difficult to handle. That's why he wouldn't dare do something like that with his beloved. Then Eva added that she wanted to know about the mermaids, what connection exists between the two of them, upon realizing her mistake. Eva understood that in those explanations she would have to reveal her identity. Noel only cares to know if that is really the only thing she wanted. It had never happened before that a girl was afraid of him. It doesn't matter who she is. Noel isn't worried. It's enough for him that she is by his side, looking into his eyes. Eva thought that now everything would be fine if she reveals the truth, even if wolf blood runs through her veins. If it's about him, the heroine is sure. Seeing the collapse, she barely managed to get to her feet to avoid getting hurt. The first thing was to get out of that building immediately. It looked like it was going to collapse. Apologizing for her clumsiness, the captain swiftly took her in his arms to escape. Holding on to him tighter, Eva strongly wished to become Noel's ideal companion. It's surely a beautiful sight, but the protagonist dreams of staying a little longer with the captain. Soon they managed to get a safe distance from the disaster site. Suddenly, a child's scream broke the silence. Ruby pounced on her sister in a panic. Both she and Sion were very worried about what had happened to her. To her sister, then Noel decided to find out how the girl got there, since he told her to wait in the south. It turns out that Rachel was also very scared by her and Sion's sudden disappearance. The important thing is that Eva understood their feelings and apologized. She thought no one would notice her. Because before there wasn't a single person looking for them, it seemed to Eva that everything would be fine, even if she said nothing. Everyone in the castle is desperate and worried because the girl disappeared without a word. The protagonist doesn't want to reveal her true identity. Because she doesn't want to be abandoned, the unresolved question is, who are the people capturing mermaids? Fearing for her life, Charlie confessed that it was all her doing. She was the one who took that girl to the sea and begged for Mrs. Len to be released. Another merman confessed that he was rude to her, and Mrs. Len was only asking her questions. Another mermaid was the one who really controlled the mansion. Everyone took the blame to cover for Mrs. Len, who was completely innocent. Mermaids are a selfish race without blood ties, but what Eva saw was very different behavior. Mrs. Leng's appearance ended everything in any case. She was the one who started it. The young master gave his word. The decision was to arrest only that girl. Everyone else was set free in the name of the people of the East. Henry took the blame for disrespecting the guest and asked for forgiveness. Now he can finally introduce himself officially. His name is Henry. He is the future leader of the East, but in the novel, the next leader of the East was a girl with red eyes. A beautiful mermaid once visited her after hearing rumors that the leader had brought a wolf from the north. She is the ruler of the land, the Red Dragon. But the mermaid could not stand idly by in the face of mass murders. At the request to let go of resentment and stop the senseless killings, the leader just laughed. She decided it was worth dyeing the sea a bloody colour, similar to the colour of the mermaid's hair. A crimson sea. What a sight. Sion thought his sister wanted to scold those people and said that that girl was good, that she had helped him and even saved him from dangerous people and was going to look for Eva, so she didn't deserve punishment. However, Henry believed he shouldn't. Trust the words of a child who met a mermaid. Maybe he was brainwashed upon hearing this. Charlie assured that she didn't brainwash anyone and recalled that the chief can determine that in response to those words, she received a slap. The butler thought she wanted to increase her sin. He went crazy, simply because the mermaid dared to speak brazenly to the young master, seeing how they argue about the mermaids. It became clear to Eva that something strange is definitely going on here. A mermaid is a cruel siren, greedy for pure souls and all things beautiful, but she showed no interest in Sion or the jewels, although maybe Eva worries in vain, but that submissive look won't leave her alone after thinking for a bit. She proposed postponing the punishment for a while. But the young woman discovered it was impossible. The mermaids always had a negative influence in the East, increasing their power by gathering an army without permission and continuously bringing foreigners into the sea. Upon learning this, Eva decided to find out if those two knew the harm she suffered from this incident. Despite the complaints, Henry agreed to take her to the interrogation room and to take Arya there. Without fear that the mermaid would take advantage of the opportunity, he thinks she has been causing them problems for a long time, and now the only hope is that Eva doesn't make Henry regret the decision he made. Soon they arrived at the place. They can't imagine the tricks mermaids can use. Although the butlers took every precaution he asked to observe the girl, however, the protagonist considered it unnecessary. Not thinking that Arya would harm her without fearing danger, Eva trusted that the East had enough guards to help her immediately. As soon as she entered the cold cell, she heard the mermaid's repentance. Arya blamed herself for ruining everything, not daring to ask for forgiveness for luring people to the water for money. She was ready to accept the punishment if it weren't for those who simply gave in to greed. Arya would no longer exist with that hair color. She didn't become like this by her own choice. No one would tolerate her if she had chosen another path. The mermaid did it only because she wanted to survive. Like all abandoned creatures, she didn't expect the she-wolf to believe her. As she herself understood that proving it was simply impossible, Arya said she didn't have the ability to bewitch people, assuring that lonely creatures often deceive themselves, since the mermaid said before that revealing the truth would not lead to punishment. Eva didn't understand what she was saying. It turns out the mermaid won't lose her whelp. Even if she decided to unmask the lie, it became clear then that revealing Eva's wolf nature would have no punishment at all in internal fights, and helping the one who threatens her is not what matters to the heroine. But despite everything, the memories of her past life continued to torment her. After talking with the mermaid, Eva met Noel. Worried about how the girl was, she reassured him by telling him she only asked her a couple of questions. The beastman Noel was burning with desire to know what they talked about, but explaining it would be very complicated. Soon she will be able to do so the girl asked him to be a little patient. The captain doesn't mind waiting. He fully trusts this beautiful young woman from the north. To be honest, the interrogation was a success. Thanks to Henry's intervention, he asked her to share what she had found out. It would be very valuable for the investigation. But he never imagined that Ava would request an audience with the Chief of the East, despite it being a crucial matter. Father Henry is not accepting requests. It seems the future chief doesn't understand that disrespecting the South's companion also goes against him. So Noel doubted that the future Chief of the East has basic knowledge of hierarchy and etiquette. Understanding the gravity of the situation, the young master understood everything and asked them to follow him suddenly. Noel warned the girl to be careful. Le pareció sospechoso que una extraña energía se extendiera por todo el castillo. El jefe del este no se encuentra bien. Así que Henry pidió comprensión y generosidad. Tras tocar la puerta, Henry se presentó, pero fue extraño que temblara al oír la voz de su padre. El jefe del este se alegró al ver a su hijo y dijo que siempre sufre por culpa de su inútil padre al ver a la dama tras él. El señor pensó que su hijo había traído una amante excelente a casa. El jefe del este no veía al jefe del sur desde hacía mucho, bloqueando su acceso al mar al ascender al trono. Además, parece que él no sabía que Noel Ramir no vendría sola según Henry. Hoy ocurrió un incidente masivo en el territorio de Sirene. El asunto era urgente, así que lo resolvió de inmediato. Apenas el jefe oyó que su hijo osó ir y su rostro amable se transformó en furia contenida. Ya había dicho muchas veces que está prohibido entrar al territorio de Sirene con un heredero tan inútil. El señor no podía dejar su puesto. Que el señor levantara la mano. A Henry enfureció a Eva, así que decidió intervenir. Es extraño oír eso de la compañera del comandante, pues el jefe no recibió informes de que el jefe del sur tuviera una compañera. Eva se quedó de piedra. Cuando el señor se disculpó por su ignorancia y subordinados incompetentes, aunque tarde le llegó el momento de presentarse. Mentirador al líder del este, Henry contó que las sirenas pelirrojas causaron mucho daño a la acompañante del jefe del sur. Aunque esto es obra de las sirenas, todo sucedió en territorio del este. Curiosamente, mentira irradia una extraña hostilidad al mencionar la palabra acompañante. De repente, al notar que el rostro de Eva se ensombreció, Noel decidió averiguar si todo estaba bien. Así, el jefe del este supo que se llamaba Eva, que torpe recién se entera de su nombre. En nombre del este, mentira, se disculpó y estaba dispuesto a pagar una compensación o tomar medidas. Cuando ofreció expiar su culpa, Noel estuvo de acuerdo con la decisión que tomara Eva. La chica aceptó la invitación. Cuanto más estudia el este, más extraño le parece. Existe una leyenda de que las sirenas pelirrojas están malditas, pero el actual jefe del este tiene el pelo rojo. Los tritones frente a ella no pueden leer su mente. Todo lo que Eva ve está confuso, ya que esta vez hay huéspedes importantes en el este. Mentira esperaba que su amado hijo no lo arruinara. Solo al quedarse a solas, el jefe del este pudo reír. He is finally free. There is a manual that is passed down exclusively to the members of his family. It says to be careful with the dragon with a single heart after the dragon's death. The world will return. Who would have thought that the prophecy would be fulfilled in this generation? But if the dragon has a companion, the chief must be even more cautious in the face of lies. Noel is just a fool unable to find his destined soulmate. Now all that's left for him is to be a victim of his own power and perish. Although the red dragon appeared suddenly, it's perfect for the Eastern chief. The truth is simple. New stories always overshadow the old ones. After swallowing the precious stone, the chief was sure it would be a glorious feast. At all costs, he decided to prove who is the true master of the sea soon. Henry only thought about why she kept causing problems. Arya doesn't stop complicating everything. He had to wait a little longer. But she herself was not willing to keep living as if she were dead. 12 years have passed and she is still waiting. Trusting only in the young master's words, nothing has changed in this time. Mermaids are still treated like insects, forcing them to live like this. The truth is that Henry is tied to his father, unable to move freely. Arya finds it funny that he expects to escape the shadow. While being the chief, nothing the young master has done for her is of any use. Now the mermaid declares that they will live on the land where he locked them up as true mermaids. With her, it's clear she listens to anyone, but for some reason she doesn't want to listen to Henry as a child. Finally seeing dry land, he decided to start his successor training. His teachers are idiots. They always assign homework saying the chief must understand the people's lives, but the young master is destined to rule the infinite ocean, so he decided to gain experience back then. The red-haired girl from the cave. She became interested in his experience and the successor training Henry Dorrell IX, possessor of exceptional beauty. He was sure she couldn't resist his beauty. The Dorrell family is famous for its breathtaking appearance. His beauty hopelessly subjugated people, and Henry did not escape that curse. The redhead was the first to shatter his ego, telling him he wasn't her type. The young master couldn't believe that she didn't tremble when looking at him. To confirm it, Henry forced the girl to gaze upon his face once more, but even so, she told him to get lost. That was their first meeting on land. Later it was revealed that Henry had come to study human life. He skillfully disguised his absence from class as something noble. Although he didn't believe it, listening to the people is a basic duty. So the boy decided to fulfill the wish of the first person he met. Then the redhead proposed they see each other from time to time. She said it didn't have to be often, she just wanted to have a friend. In reality, it's a bit difficult because Henry wants to visit his friend every day. From that moment on, they started to be friends. The girl asked him to call her Arya. After they became friends, Henry used his studies as an excuse to wander around. They helped the elderly fisherman fish-made seashell necklaces and gave them to the children. They spent all their time together. That time was so precious to the young lord, but if he could turn back time, he would have never called her a friend, because then he wouldn't have fallen in love. Then one day Henry was rushing to see his friend. He had decided to skip class again today, when it became known he was learning about human life with someone. The Lord said that nobody attended those classes. However, the boy was so enthusiastic that there was someone who could teach him so much, and so he begged them to postpone the classes just a little bit. Henry's eyes shone, assuring that even a servant would be surprised to hear that her eyes were like lilacs, shining like gems, and her cheeks always slightly flushed, and her hair was like silk woven with the sunset. Bright and striking red hair. Upon hearing this, the Lord apologized and decided to find out what race she belonged to. Once Henry wanted to walk the girl home, but she insisted the path was long and uneven. The sun would soon set, so he suggested they hurry as time was running out. Terrified Arya pushed him and instantly realized the boy had fallen into the water because of her. It turned out he was fine. He could breathe underwater, so he didn't mind at all. He simply thought he was pressuring her too much, so he decided to take a step back. The young master decided to leave first, asking the girl to be careful on her way back. Honestly, he had never wondered what race she was. He only knows that she lives in a nearby village, but Henry never even considered the possibility that she was a mermaid. He thought that if she were really a mermaid, she would know who he is and would try to seduce him from the beginning, even at the thought that she might be doing it on purpose. The boy flatly refused to believe it. He was sure that Arya could not behave that way on purpose, just to confuse him. After thinking a bit, the future chief decided to take the butler with him today. He was going to the nameless cemetery to pray for the deceased. The only chance is for the butler to be able to read what is in her heart. If Henry can't see the truth, however, the Lord was sure that reckless words could cause problems today. He promised to be with the boy, but he couldn't stay for long. Soon, in a nameless cemetery, Arya begged God to hear her prayers. She pleaded for him to give eternal life to those who live in paradise and grant them peace where they would forget the pain of death. The girl prayed that the Almighty would give that to her mother and give her the courage to live until they meet again. That day, Henry arrived at the meeting for the first time, accompanied by his butler upon seeing that girl. The Lord was absolutely sure she was the red-haired mermaid. Considering it his duty to protect the young master, the butler decided to take him away as soon as possible. But the young heir wanted to hear her side of the story, believing that Arya could not be a mermaid. After this, the father ordered to reinforce surveillance of the mermaid territory, and Henry was placed under house arrest. The butler felt bad everything he did was to protect the boy, even if that girl was a mermaid. Henry still considered her his friend. The end of this story is that he, together with her, decided to end all of this. Shortly after the boy decided to share a secret with her, he could never see the truth. That's why his father looks for ways to extend his reign, as much as possible since his son lacks abilities, but Arya still believed the boy would be a great leader, for sometimes governing is about balancing interests. Of course, truth is important, but that is not enough to unite people. The main thing is that Henry has the kindness to accept everyone and the insight to see the essence of people. And in case he is worried about not being able to see the truth, he can appoint an assistant deciding to be the leader. The first thing Henry was going to do was destroy all forms of discrimination. In Eastern history, mermaids are treated very badly, but he didn't believe they were evil from the start. The boy was going to judge based on what he saw with his own eyes, but even with power, it is difficult to achieve something alone. So he proposed to Arya that she join him. She is the one who listens to his stories and judges what is right and wrong. The one Henry really needs, his only wish, is for the red-haired mermaid to become his first advisor. All of this ended with the boy having to check all the places where they had been. He couldn't believe that everything Arya said was a lie. Upon reaching the last place, his only hope is that she will come out and talk to him directly. In the cave, the boy found her, but judging by her face, something terrible had happened. Henry just wanted to know why she had so many wounds, but in a panic, Arya pushed him away. She declared that a cursed mermaid like her should not touch the hand of someone as noble as him. The truth is that the girl really is a pure-blooded red-haired mermaid. That she was a red-haired mermaid didn't matter to the future chief. He just wanted to know one thing about everything about her. Their memories together, was it all just to deceive him? Henry couldn't believe what he was hearing. When she said she wanted something from the future chief, the boy didn't know much about her. But he did know something. Arya wasn't the type to play with other people's feelings. According to the mermaid, he can't be so sure. If he can't even see the true essence, then everything became clear to the young master. He decided to leave and sent the girl to the sea. As he said goodbye, he promised to convince his father to change the decree on stricter surveillance of the mermaids. For the next few days, Henry acted distant. He didn't even eat well. With so little time to catch up on all his missed classes, the boy thought he should at least study well. Since he was a defective creation that couldn't see the truth, the butler believed that the pain he felt now would make him a compassionate leader. According to him, Henry, more than anyone, understands the pain of not having what others take for granted. This understanding can be used to be a ruler who finds and alleviates hidden sorrows. Then, by the seashore, Arya considered it an honor to be his first advisor. After all this, the young successor wasn't sure if he would really be capable if he can't even earn the trust of a single person soon. At the meeting with the southern chief, and Sion looked incredibly beautiful. Above all, her charming image struck Noel today. She was radiant, no matter what happens. She must trust the captain today. He will end everything. At the banquet, they were received with absurd rumors. No one expected to see the dragon with his companion. Eva thought the stares of other mermaids were intense, but this was nothing compared to this man's. This banquet was prepared in a hurry, but Mentira Doral hoped they would like it. The reason they organized a banquet today is that the southern chief's wife suffered during a visit to the east. So today the chief had the opportunity to take advantage. To punish whoever dared to be insolent, they had always turned a blind eye to her behavior. But now she had gone too far and hurt outsiders. To protect the peace, they could no longer ignore it. So Mentira wanted to personally execute the mermaid. Upon hearing this, Henry couldn't help but intervene, reminding his father that everything should end with an exile. Since the chief's son is so weak, the Lord believed it was time for him to intervene. The final decision is Eva's. Everyone wanted to know if she could forgive such rudeness from Serene. It turned out she agreed it is a big mistake to use brainwashing to hide the truth. As the victim, the girl decided to carry out the punishment with that thing the chief has in his hands. Everyone was shocked that she wanted to use the trident, something that only the chief can use, according to the butler. Even if she is the wife of the southern chief, her request is somewhat excessive. Only the blood descendants of the eastern chiefs can hold the trident, so that this would bring peace to the east. The chief granted the girl that possibility. His ability to control the crowd amazed the heroine. He knows how to handle public opinion. Mentira could have said it was rude and refused, but instead he listened to the senseless demand. Eva is someone who acts without reason, without any idea of common sense. and he is a generous monarch. So she too, according to the image he created, can force him into something. The heroine decided to find out how that man should pay for the sin of hiding the truth by brainwashing. By saying that this purge was done throughout the East, she wasn't referring to Arya, but to the leader of the East. Seeing the leader in danger, the defense squad took up their weapons to protect the Lord. Immediately, the absolute power of the Red Dragon surrounded the hall. He was determined to do anything. If they so much as touch the hem of the dragon's companion's dress, they must face the consequences. Not knowing what he was doing, Mentira asked them to lower their spears as this could affect regional relations. The heroine didn't ask Leader Doral. She can also address him by another name as a mermaid. The assistant did not tolerate such impudence and ordered the southern captain to reprimand his companion. However, Noel wasn't going to do that as dragons obey the will of their companions. Eva ordered him to hold back, otherwise this place would already be engulfed in flames. Upon claiming that the woman Noel knows is the biggest liar here, the Eastern leader felt pity. According to him, she doesn't lie about just anything she claims to be a dragon's companion with. By this, Lord Doral meant that this woman can in no way be a dragon's companion. He spoke with confidence, having the eyes of a merman, the gift of insight. As chief of the East and as a representative of God, the light-haired merman who punished the proud mermaid was named Chief of the East. The entire Beastman community knows that mermen avoid speaking the truth without thinking. In that case, Eva wants to know how the Eastern chief can claim to speak the truth. She thought that mermen are punished for the truth, but Mentira is fine, as if his truth carried no weight. Perhaps the problem is that he failed to see the real truth, or, as the heroine supposed, the legend itself has been a lie all this time. Regarding the chief being able to recognize the truth, Lord Henry can be a witness when Eva met his father. He mistook her for his son's lover, but Arya always saw her for who she was, and knew instantly who she was. When Eva demanded to know what he was, the Eastern chief grabbed her by the neck and threw her. He squeezed her throat so tightly she couldn't breathe. Mentira was going to break her neck. Our heroine couldn't pass out like that. She needed to find something to break free. To his surprise, the mind control failed. The chief was about to get into serious trouble. When he tried to fix everything he saw, it kept breaking, and he thought he had been careless. Maybe the master used it too much. This is bad. Without it, the prey will escape. He just couldn't believe this woman was using the human king's magic. At that fateful moment, Noel felt distressed he could no longer stand by, watching his beloved being threatened.